Hey everybody, I'm just getting this set up. I know we're ahead of our normal schedule, and this is not normally when we're live, but there's some crazy shit going on with the Stop the Steal protest. It's gotten much more extreme over the last hour, so I've just been getting set up to start streaming early so that we could watch this and talk about this together. This is some really fucked up shit that's going on. This is really fucking crazy. This is footage from direct outside the Capitol. As you can see, they appear to have possibly breached those doors, which is the rumor that's going around now, is that they have breached the building.
R.I.P. Joe Rogan.
Those blasts are tear gas. They have not started firing on protesters. As I understand it, they could fire on these protesters if they wanted to. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm just this is nuts. I don't know what to say hardly. I have been a loud predictor of a Republican-led coup. I did not expect it to go exactly like this. I am not saying that for sure this is going to be a successful coup or anything like that, but this is obviously an attempt to overthrow our government, overthrow its normal processes. And again, the processes that our government has aren't necessarily great. There's plenty of issues, but yeah. This is not great. Hey, what's up, Brandon?
Yeah, listen, I was listening to Antifada. I was listening to their lashback, their Douglas Lane. If you remember, he did Zero Books, and he's just talking about, you know, history and all that other good stuff.
What the fuck?
The stuff he usually talks about. And this is a totally different situation.
What the shit? Also, hello everyone. I am still actively getting ready for what was supposed to be a 4 p.m. stream, and clearly is a now stream because
it's now. It's happening now.
Like, history's happening now, so we gotta be here.
I am going to put my clothes on and the audio only until I'm not literally in a towel.
I think that's.
I'm sure our fans would prefer the towel.
Yeah, I think that's fine. That's valid. That's good.
But also, just holy shit, they seriously just busted in there. Are they holding? They have guns?
I'm sure some of them do.
Well, yeah, I'm looking for the guns though, because I mean, you know, that's the thing is they show up in the state capitol building with guns all the time.
Okay, but shouldn't you have guns too? If you work at the state capitol, I mean the national capitol.
Or is this DC Capitol? Oh shit!
The last I have heard, protesters are one door away from the chamber of the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, the senators have been told to go to their offices or evacuate.
I don't understand because the cops in America have unlimited tools. We definitely saw tons of police brutality in Washington D.C. this summer. So where is the tear gas? Where are the lasers? Where's the smoke? Where's the tanks? You know, we went out to Brian Kemp's house and the damn National Guard came out there.
Right. But I mean, they always treat us differently. That's how it goes, right? Like, because at the end of the day, those people are not actually enemies of the current order of things.
Of course.
Right? They are protesting.
They want more.
To keep things exactly the same and in fact regress them.
Yes.
So if you're the person who, you know, has the money and benefits from this, you're going to be on their side, except for in strictly aesthetic capacity.
Yeah. It's a mess. Like, it's a hard mess.
I gotta say though, they can't say people didn't tell them. Like, we've been saying they're going to do a coup. We've been saying they're going to do a coup since like March.
This is not a coup.
This isn't the coup.
You don't think?
No.
You don't think it's the beginning rumble?
No. Didn't you think that Ossoff and Warnock were going to lose and it was going to start World War III? Wasn't that you last week?
No, I said no matter what happened.
The far more interesting story, I think, is that does this represent an institutional fracture in the Republican Party that will lead to a second conservative party? And I think the odds are dramatically increasing over the past 2 months.
I mean, we'll definitely see a dirty break in the GOP before we see a dirty break in the Democratic Party. That's for
Absolutely. But the problem is that you have millions upon millions of people, of registered Republicans, that support Trump and think that anyone who goes against him is a fucking traitor.
Yes.
And then you have institutional Republicans, including now Pence, McConnell, all of these figures are going out against that. So
listen,
you can't
Donald
really hold
Trump.
the party together like
The,
that.
the problem is this.
Unless Trump himself falls to the institutional Republican.
I don't know if this movement can stay together because Trump's not gonna get his head cracked in. Like, I guess he can tweet from miles away and they'll just do what he says.
He was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Did y'all know that?
Yeah, I think his bone spurs were acting up.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's going to happen here. I'm saying that I think that there might be some sort of split institutionally in the Republican Party.
I mean, okay.
But I mean, like, what extent of that? Like, here's the thing: is in spite of literally everything else, that 30% of people still vote Trump.
Yeah.
You know, to what extent are those people just loyal to him no matter what? You know,
Yeah.
like, I'm not sure to what extent it's that he was the Republican and they're loyal to the party,
Yeah.
or that they're loyal to him specifically.
If there is,
But, I mean, given the rise of the Tea Party over the last, 20 years and the current state of things, I'm inclined to believe that at this point, all of the moderate Republicans have jumped ship.
I
Hey,
think
listen.
that.
Go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, sorry. I lost my train of thought, but now I have it. If there's one thing Trump has done over his presidency, it's been cater to his base. And if someone caters to their base so often and over and over and over again, you would expect that people would be loyal to that guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to comment on people on Twitter are saying, does it seem like the police are going easy on these protesters? Yes.
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 We've
Let
been
me-
telling you this.
Let me just fucking point out that even regardless of like the fact that they're holding off on tear gas and things like that, and by the way, I am sorry if this stream that we're connected to is choppy at times. That's just gonna be how it is, folks. Just want you to know that now.
Yeah, we've got an NBC feed on YouTube or whatever. If you want to use that, I don't know what the usage rights and all the other shit are.
Yeah.
Probably not the same as C-SPAN.
Oh, I see. Some of this is old footage. I see what's up.
Because right now,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're outside. They're one locked door away from the Senate chamber. Those are the pictures and the tweets that I have seen.
Yeah. You got to remember that they're approaching from several doors. We're just looking at the one where most of the people are. And so yeah, there's a lot more that we're not seeing, but we can also we'll switch between feeds a little so that
we've
we
got
get
multiple feeds. We'll bounce around and you guys can just
get some
watch
variety.
the revolt.
Yeah. And I kind of felt this a little bit. I had the live Senate feed going just in case they managed to breach the room, because that would be a glorious moment that I wanted to catch live.
Yeah, it was interesting the moment where the senators suddenly decided that they were done.
Mm-hmm.
That was I've
Like,
never really seen that before.
They had 2 hours blocked off for objections to the Arizona certification, and then we're done. But
I can't imagine why.
I think they want them to storm the Capitol. Yeah, go ahead.
Some of them do.
If this was any shade of leftist, they would be
It would
dead.
be dead.
There would be an ocean
live
of
fire,
bodies.
yeah.
in
Yeah,
front
it would
of
be
the
live
Capitol
rounds at this point if it was leftist.
Yeah.
Because
And I
they
mean-
can. I just want to point this out. The Capitol Police are allowed to shoot you for things like this.
Mhm.
Those are the laws. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily think that's a great thing in general, but I'm just saying the Capitol Police, they're not only not tear gassing these people, barely have asked them to disperse. They didn't even ask them to disperse until like an hour ago. They could literally use live rounds on people that are doing this, and they're not going to, because a lot of these people that are in the police force at any level are in support of this.
Well, listen, Trump's the president right now.
Yeah.
And this like just makes him look more like he is not in control of what the hell is going on.
Mhm.
And I think that when Biden gets in here, he's going to make it a point to have more militarized defense of the Capitol. And
Right.
unlike Trump,
Right.
who when he meant it, when Trump actually meant it, he had like 4 big barricades in front of his house when he was really worried about getting dragged out of there.
Yeah.
For this, which is more of a show thing, boy, people are really mad. They're really rising up, and we saw the same shit in Michigan, where they tried to kidnap the governor. This is the same, this is literally the same group of folks doing the same kind of stuff.
And much
they-
like
But if
Michigan,
anything,
So
they have
maybe,
support on the inside.
hey, excuse me. Thanks.
Right.
One of the problems that you're looking at is that act of terrorism of storming the Capitol was followed by actual physical violence that was directed against those officials. So for the sake of their own preservation, those people who have stood in the halls of power in the Senate, gotten all of these same documents about right-wing violence and about regular people getting abducted and murdered,
Right.
maybe their ears will perk up a little bit.
right.
Because they'll have like some buy-in from some of their colleagues who can tell them the same thing about how unhinged these people are.
To me, though, that seems like even more reason the police should be using some force here. Like, and I don't say should. Like, again, I'm still anti-cop, but like, it makes it all the more egregious that the difference in treatment is so huge. Because these are people who literally have tried to kidnap people. Like, when has the left kidnapped anybody in the last 20 years of the United States?
More than
Right.
20.
Or,
Yeah.
when has DSA ever kidnapped somebody? When has the Green Party ever kidnapped somebody?
The
Or
most
even
recent
tried?
leftist fucking kidnapping I can remember is Aldo Moro in the Italian Years of Red in 1978.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is not a thing that the left is currently doing, but they need us with force 3,000 million times more intense, right? Like, people would be at the very least getting tear gassed right now if it was the left.
Well, like I said, they have people on the inside, just like in the Michigan
Yes.
situation. It was revealed that, there were some lawmakers that were in communication with the terrorists.
Yeah.
Where the same thing is happening today. I don't know if any of y'all watched any of the Republican congressmen on C-SPAN talking about how the election was stolen, but these people are clearly all on the same side, and you know that some of them are in contact with each other because we've always find this out afterwards.
Breaking news, DC Mayor Doug Bowser has declared a 6 p.m. curfew.
Okay, we'll see how that goes.
I mean, when they pulled that shit in Atlanta, they told us about the curfew at 6 o'clock and then immediately started gassing.
Let's see
So,
let's see if they close the DC Metro and have Air Force One out, the Marine One out there, flying low over these protests. Yeah, but listen, honestly, we all know better, right? Because this is Trump's thing, and Trump's kind of probably standing people down. And in addition to that, the DC cops are fine with all this. It's not like there's the only consequence that's going to come out of this, because the elections are already over.
Yeah.
And certainly Biden is, I'd love to see Joe Biden's plans for coming together with these guys. It's not going to be good for the rest of America.
Yeah, Joe Biden's going to come out tomorrow talking about compromising with these dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These dudes who would literally, if they had the chance, what would they do to Joe?
He's gonna have to compromise
real.
with these people from behind a glass wall.
Yeah.
Plexiglass, mind you.
Yeah.
These people want to kill him and are currently trying to get the opportunity to do so.
Like, Joe Biden, if I ever get the chance to meet you, I might yell at you about how you're a bad person, but I swear it stops there.
Yeah.
You don't need
I
a
might
wall between me and you to meet.
Listen,
These dudes, though,
violence
the thing about all of this is that we all know where this is going. We all have common sense, and what you're seeing right now is basically like Star Wars Episode 1, but for woke cops, because we now have a crisis, and all of these libs that we're talking about BLM. What they're going to be doing in a few weeks. They're going to be talking about how we need more money. You guys wanted to defund the police? They're defending us from MAGA, and they'll get unlimited budget, and it'll be, usual embarrassment that we have around here.
I mean, Joe Biden's literally the smart gun guy. Like, he's going to use this to push just a different brand of authoritarianism.
Right.
As always, people should read Giorgio Agamben's book, State of Acceptance. He details it perfectly. I'm going to bring that shit up until I'm dead. Which will, at this rate, be sooner rather than later, because the secret police will come get me.
Yeah. Here we go.
Oh,
Here we
Is
go.
anything happening?
they got in.
They're going in. They're going in.
What a humiliation.
I think even
Not
fucking
since
be-
not since
even
1812 have invaders just come to your house and kicked the shit out of you.
Now, to be fair, I have been saying we need to bring this energy back.
Yeah. They're allowed
No,
to.
no, on
bring
our
it. Let's
side.
be
I
clear.
meant for us.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. They're allowed to. They've been allowed to reach the Capitol for a photo op. Let's be clear, because when there was that energy in DC all summer, Rachel.
Yes.
Like this wasn't like, oh, we just need to work harder to be more. We just need more numbers because the numbers are smaller for this.
Yes.
Like, it's not like there were more people that rose up and came down here. First of all, these people are all shipped from other places in the country. Like, it's not like does this look like the District of Columbia to any of y'all?
Yeah.
For a political movement that can't shut the fuck up about outside agitators. These are literally outside agitators in Washington, D.C.
These people don't live in DC.
That have been shipped in by billionaires to humiliate the United States for a photo op. And listen, I'm all fine for humiliating Capitol security, but we should also be clear once again that they're being allowed to do this shit because more numbers came up there behind George Floyd, and those people got like beaten the shit out of.
Yes. Well, and to be clear, when I said, the thing I said about bringing this energy back, I mostly wanted to head off people who were like, Rachel, you asked for this. Like, yeah, from us. From us, not from them.
I just want to. There's some more breaking news. Militia members have also gathered outside the Georgia Capitol, and senior staff have been escorted out to safety.
Yeah.
And
where are the choppers? Because we escorted outside the Capitol, and it was World War III. They were at where are the tanks? Because they had they couldn't put a tank on the fucking Capitol because they were worried about road damage.
Oh my
But
God.
they
Did that?
Yeah.
How many of our friends had like bones in their face?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, our friend who literally had his orbital socket shattered by a rubber bullet that someone shot at his face.
What's happening? This is so embarrassing. But it's what.
In a way, it's kind of vindicating.
Yes.
I told y'all the Republicans were not to be trusted and that they were not going to just say, okay, Joe Biden won.
Yeah, but this isn't
Fine.
enough. If you're the military, this isn't enough for you.
Well, and also, Brandon, you may recall when I said earlier that I was expecting a civil war, I said it was most likely to happen if Biden won, actually.
Okay, so you're still on that, right?
I'm still on it.
So how long now? What's your new timetable?
4 months.
Will you come back if you come back here in 4 months?
Make a bet. What's the bet?
No.
So I will define my parameters clearly here.
Okay.
Live rounds in the streets in more than one location within 4 months.
That's not enough. We gotta have a
civil war.
No, that's not a civil war. That's just terrorism.
Yeah, I
Organized.
Increased political terrorism, I broadly agree with, is going.
I still say I'm gonna call it a civil war when we have like an anti-capital.
Yeah.
Sure.
When there's two competing capitals, both giving out their version of this is what America should be, and two different groups of people listening to that. That's when I will think it's a civil war.
I thought
way.
by anti-capital, I thought you meant when like there are two sides that are fighting each other. Because
there has to be a shadow capital.
I've said it and I will continue to say it. The worst we're gonna get is probably the Italian years of lead. And look at this. This is the political terrorism.
Yeah.
Literally, like I said, there's too many people on the inside for this.
Yeah.
That's the only way this is happening is because these guys have support from members of Congress, from members of law enforcement and stuff like that. Because this is what we're seeing here. This would not happen with any other group, basically, in America.
Absolutely not.
Like, I cannot think of another group in America that could get away with this.
Can you imagine if this was a bunch of black people? Like, what would
it would have been fire an hour ago.
The Trump supporters have breached the East Side iron doors.
Yeah.
Hearing. Now, increasingly, they are one door away from both the House chamber and the Senate chamber.
If both sides claim the same capital, that's fine, but they can't both physically operate.
There's no claiming the same capital. You either have it or you don't.
Not de jure, de facto.
Yes. Well, and in fact, fighting over the capital is what makes it a civil war, right? Like, that's...
If there's a fight about who should be in control of the capital, what is that?
There's not a... Well, listen, we'll see what Biden does. But, like, despite the fact that it is step one for woke cops, the alternative, if you're Biden, is do nothing and make, vague statements about unity. And maybe he'll truly be pathetic and do that. But I
here, Jack.
You would hope that the defense industry's favorite guy sees opportunity for the defense industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, I saw that thing. Listen.
Oh my God!
Miss
Sky Fox Matt.
God damn it!
God damn it!
So this is just one of the lamest things you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And this unprecedented outpouring was a black guy was elected to the U.S. Senate and also a Jew, and this cannot be compatible with their vision of America. Right. And it's time to, I guess, remind people that they exist.
Jesus, look at this footage.
I can't go in the chamber. My stream drops.
Okay, well, sorry, buddy.
Well, then we're gonna find another streamer.
Yeah, listen. I've got NBC in the private chat, and we can talk to them if and when needed.
Are they in the chamber right now?
NBC isn't showing the inside, so keep your eyes peeled. If y'all can find a better stream of the interior.
Sure.
Let me know. That includes y'all out there in the chat. If you've got a better one, let us know. Obviously, the quality of this one is pretty mediocre at this point, and it would be nice to be able to keep eyes on the inside in particular, because a lot of the major news coverage is still of the outside of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Who would have thought? Who would have guessed that this is how the 2020s would be starting if you asked somebody in like 2000?
Not a lot of people.
Back then, not a lot of people at all would have guessed.
Maybe 2001 people would have guessed, but not 2000.
By the way, thanks for the birthday wishes in the comments, y'all.
Yeah, Kennedy. Kennedy.
Kennedy's amazing. We love him.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. What a good birthday present. What a fantastic birthday present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Status Coup is live again. I'm going to see if that's better footage.
Yeah, listen, my birthday was Soleimani getting bombed. So we're all getting some world events as a treat. Yeah, that's right.
We're getting...
Say what, Rachel?
I don't think anything happened on my birthday. I feel left out.
What happened is you were celebrated by your friends, family, and the people closest to you.
That did happen. Yeah.
Can we pull up this tweet, please?
Yeah, I got it.
I'm really doubting the veracity of that caption, but as you can see from the picture, when it's whenever it's pulled up, House aides in the chamber are now beginning to move furniture in the way of the doors to prevent protesters from forcing their way through.
Right.
Okay, hold on. I got the picture coming.
I assume this is all intended to prevent the new senators from being sworn in. Is that right?
I don't know about this caption's accuracy.
Yeah,
like April said, I think that's alarmist.
Yeah.
But this photo is that's unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah. If this was happening in a third world country, we would do a coup based on this.
Yes. Well, we would
already have the forces en route.
Yeah, we would be sending in troops. But that's not going to happen because we are the exception. White men are the exception, right? What they are doing is like a righteous cause in the eyes of the law. And like anytime anybody they're stepping on asks them politely to move their boot.
Yeah.
Is this productive?
What? Storming the Capitol?
Oh, yeah, for the political project.
Towards what end?
I don't know. You tell me.
I do think it's productive for them.
Yeah.
Washington Post is reporting that the protesters were not screened whatsoever. So some of them might have guns. Knowing these people, there are definitely some guns in there.
Whatever direction this goes, let's just watch it and see where it goes. Let me tell you.
That's all we can do.
Congress are being told to put on gas masks because tear gas is being dispersed in the building.
I mean, good.
Why are they in the
I
building?
guess. I don't know.
Because
This
they were
country-
having a hearing.
This country, which is so fucking obsessed with like dominance,
Law and order.
the president tweets in all caps. Can you imagine these old
Jesus.
triple guys
What's
holding the
that?
flag?
What's happening on Trump's Twitter right now?
Nothing probably. Because
Yeah,
if
he
he was
posted something
tweeting,
about please keep it peaceful, support Capitol Police, back the blue, something like that.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful, he says.
The House floor is being evacuated. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, so proposition, or not a proposition, but just a kind of question. Do we think that they are going to breach into the inside of the chamber and get that photo op by the end of the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
yes.
Yeah.
This tweet that Volvox posted, he says that Pelosi has asked for National Guard troops, and DC officials confirmed that troops are on the way. So they are,
Jesus.
about 10 hours late compared to a leftist protest, but
They will get that photo op, and just because everyone involved is fine with that.
They're
Like
currently trying to smash the
Pelosi's
doors
fine
open
with
to the House
that.
chamber, so.
Trump wants that.
yeah,
Biden wants that. So
they really want
literally
that.
everyone involved supports the humiliation that's
Yeah.
going on right now at this little spot. And listen, whatever.
Yeah. Sorry for
This
interrupting.
is a great. Nancy Pelosi.
Is,
Nancy Pelosi sees this footage and sees like a really excellent fundraising opportunity. There's going to be a really fire email that goes out tonight.
Yeah.
so for folks who are just tuning in, I just saw some people asking what's happening.
Yeah.
Right-wing terrorist groups have stormed both the Georgia and National Capitol buildings. This one is a piece of where they are trying to break into the floor of the Senate. They are going to try and hold the floor of the Senate to prevent Warnock and Ossoff from being sworn in. This is my guess.
Sure. They're not going to be able to hold that chamber of course. Like
Right.
not even in the most delusional right.
It's important to
We say
remember that Pennsylvania was
Wait,
already.
wait, everybody stop. Rachel.
We say this, but when they were holding the park or whatever up in like Dakota or wherever a couple of years back, you remember that?
Yeah.
Where they had the park held hostage. That lasted for like weeks. That was a really long
I know.
occupation.
I just feel like the park is a little bit different from the United States Capitol, but Kennedy, like we're talking about the literal deliberation chamber. What's happening? How do you feel that this is going to go long term?
I just want to say that Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania rather, was already trying to withhold, formalizing the elections of Democrats, like actually swearing them in.
Yeah.
So, like, I do think that all these things are connected. I don't think that like it's just a coincidence that like Pennsylvania is threatening to not swear in Democrats, and then like this is happening, and all these things like these fit together in terms of like there is a specific tactic of like suppressing elections that is going on.
All right, April.
So in light of this, people who are complaining about the typing, sorry about that. This is
World's history.
doing our best.
Happening.
We will try to remember to mute when we're typing aggressively. In the meantime, if you would like to send us lots of links to things, that'll make it easier for us to not type.
Yeah.
So I encourage everybody who's watching, send us all of your links. Shout out and thank you to Volvoxism, who has been doing that. You're great. We appreciate the support. We know about as much as you do at this point, which is there's a bunch of right-wing nut jobs trying to do what looks to me like at least kind of a little bit of a coup.
Yeah, thank you. April, What's going on? What do you think?
Oh, I was just gonna make a joke about what kind of dumb shit tennis court oath these protesters are gonna make when they actually get in there.
Yeah, I don't know what they're. I guess they swear on a Trump flag. I don't know what they're gonna do.
I don't know.
It's
They
embarrassing.
managed to make swearing an oath in a tennis court less ridiculous than what they're doing here. All right, what's going on?
That's what they just said on the stream.
Yeah. Same.
The digital soldier oath.
All right, I'm pulling up the most recent.
Is that Navy SEAL copy pasta?
Wild. They are calling themselves revolutionaries, which I think really underscores my opinion that they are trying to do a coup here. Let me pull it up real quick. And thank you again, Volvoxism, for sharing this link. Here we go. It is this. So we see he is saying quite explicitly the word revolutionaries. And everybody bailed, right? Because I think there is a legitimate fear of physical violence. So
I'm hearing reports unconfirmed that there is gunfire audible inside the House chamber.
Oh wow!
There are multiple reports of this.
Fun, huh? Repent and believe in Jesus.
Repent and believe in Jesus. Okay.
We got a video from inside the chamber. Can you pull that up, please?
Yep.
It's in private chat.
Oh.
So it is increasingly looking like this is, in fact, the coup that they have been soft threatening.
But Trump isn't even in support of it. Like, he's saying, be peaceful, be peaceful. You think?
No, he is in support of it. He's just lying at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, he's covering his ass is what he's doing. He loves this. He absolutely loves that there are people shooting in this building.
Wait. Please
Take
be
a look
quiet.
at the chaos in the chamber right now.
Can you full screen that?
That's from inside the chamber. Wanted to show that because it is obviously absolute chaos in there.
Yeah, there's reportedly an armed standoff in the.
Oh wait, forgot audio. Okay, there we go.
Boy. So we can add that to the list of things leftists have not done. We have not started shooting. The only leftist who shot anybody did it in self-defense.
This
and
reminds me of how
died immediately at the hands of the police. So here we are now. All of our worst fears sort of rising up to the surface in this moment as these ethnic and religious tensions that the United States has been dealing with for the last 20 years or so seem to be coming to a head.
they have entered the chamber. I'm here. I'm seeing footage. Can you put this up on screen, please?
I can.
They're in the chamber. One is up on the dais yelling, "Trump won that election." This is insane.
Wait, they've got the pic. All right, this is happening.
Hold
They
on.
have the picture. Can you? Yeah.
April, you were right. I was wrong. I said, listen,
Jesus.
they surely
fucking
won't
Christ.
take that. Now there's just nuts. We should have just been there with the protesters. We should have just went.
We should have gone to DC today.
Yeah,
Apparently,
apparently we.
I mean, it's not too late for us to go to the state capitol building, but
I would assure you that it is too late for us to
It's
get
too
there.
late. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been to
How do you
protest. You
even
know
in
what
the
it's
crowd?
too
You
late.
know what's happening right now.
Yeah, you know
as
it's
much
right.
as they are giving these guys a softball, you know that they are shutting the city down at this point.
yes, absolutely. If
I
they're-
just love the mental image. I just love the energy here. Can we make this bigger? There's just literally just a
There's
weirdo
one
in the
fucking
house.
guy.
Like-
It's not
like- That guy's
Want me to
not
bring it
bigger
back?
than April is. Like it's
It's
just
not- It's not like the paintings you see of the French Revolution where there's so many people crowded around like a Statue of Liberty or something. There's
No.
one fucking guy.
To
Oh,
be
and, also
fair-
breaking. The FBI has evacuated its Washington field office.
The FBI has evacuated itself.
What
That's
the
hilarious.
FBI is running? Is that what I'm
Yeah.
hearing?
They're
You
not
know,
evacuated, but
good guy with
has
a gun,
sent staff
not
home.
the bad guy with the gun, folks, and our good guys with guns are running like hell right
Listen, this guy Comey fucking tweeted. I'm not saying that Comey's the current director of the FBI. I'm just saying this guy tweeted all the time about the values of these men. who believe in justice and liberty, and it's all that good shit when it's like time to beat up a Muslim. But like when it's this shit, they're like, man, this is crazy. Let's go home for the day.
Hey, I just want to say the guy calling this group revolutionaries is a hack from the Blaze. I was just informed. So
that's a little bit of a comfort.
We'll dial back our Coup feelings a half a.
Can we take a step back for a second and appreciate that for 10 years, this pathetic failure, for 10 years or more, this pathetic failure is going to be treated by conservatives like the storming of the Bastille.
Yes.
When it will accomplish
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. It might not, because the thing with conservatives is that, you know, success has 1,000 followers, and failure's an orphan. So if this thing, like the people involved look dumb in a few hours, it's gonna be totally fine.
New tweet. Can we pull that up?
Yeah, well, so a breaking source saying the Defense Department has refused to send in National Guard. This is not a surprise because it is still Trump's Defense Department, of course.
Right.
And Trump is in support of this. Again, he's just covering his ass at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's pull up. That's a great comparison, because we've already had protests in DC, and they were anti-war protests.
And it was not even the same number of people.
No.
Wild.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I mean, like I've been saying, you know, this is the consequence of decades of very, very dutiful organization on the right. You know, they have been planning for this for ages, in fact, for a very long time. You know, remember, back in the Audis when all those prepper shows were really popular, that was them. They were doing it then. Like, This isn't a new thing. They've been working on this for decades. And what we are seeing here is these tensions finally coming to a head. You know, what started as the debate between evolutionists and religious zealots in schools is turning now into the same religious zealots, as evidenced by the guy saying, repent and come to Jesus, now storming the Capitol building in collusion with existing defense forces, with existing police forces, and basically,
so anyway,
trying to stop
they cleared. I'm sorry that y'all ran that before I wanted to get onto this point. Yeah, this is number one. Yeah, they cleared there's not a problem in the United States with fucking crowd control. Anybody who's ever been in a crowd, who's ever just been a citizen of the country, y'all are fully cognizant of the fact that there's never been a problem with crowd control in the United States of America, and they were able to clear out all those grieving people. And beat the hell out of them so that Donald Trump could go pose with a damn Bible.
Yeah.
If we're talking about institutional splits in the Republican Party, we have a quote from Mitt Romney. "This is what the president has caused today, this insurrection."
No, but is he saying that and calling? Is there a call for legal consequences alongside his whining?
Well, no, it wasn't. It's not a statement. It was a journalist was speaking to him in a secure location.
Problem, and I think that when these people come out of their secure location, there should be a campaign to ask members of the Democratic Party whether that's legal or not.
Yeah.
Like, should there be legal consequences?
So I guess second question to the question I posed before: is it going to be the moderates will do a dirty break from the Republican Party, or the Trumpists will do a dirty break?
We don't know yet. Listen, none of this, and I gotta throw up a little clarification for both you and Rachel, who are both living like in the cyberpunk future already. And you're like, yeah, bring it on. You've already, you know.
No, I'm not like, yeah, bring it on. I think this is a nightmare, actually.
Yeah.
My point,
I'm horrified.
My larger point is that when you say that this is coming to a head, it's not coming to a head yet. These are, no, Rachel, hold on. Make that look. I want you to understand, Rachel. This is not civil war. This is a civil dispute. And we've had those all in American history. And don't let anyone like fool yourself into the idea that A, the revolution is happening tomorrow, or B, things can't get worse. Anybody who like lived through, like who read about like the Civil War, you know, there's like a long bleeding Kansas type period. Yeah, there's a time where this stuff does escalate. Rachel, go ahead.
So I'm actually going to quote Michael McFaul, who's on the National Security Council. In retrospect, all revolutions seem inevitable. Beforehand, all revolutions seem impossible.
Sure.
We never know until retrospect whether the revolution is inevitable. What I want now is we have the right conditions for one. We have people who are acting towards one actively right now in front of us on camera, and we should not be discounting this possibility. That
no, listen, they're here to kill. I don't know how much we can say on YouTube, but certainly their intent can't be mistaken. But however, Rachel, I also don't want you to have a martyrdom complex and demoralize people who are watching this. Like, there are people who are watching this who have known struggle and violence like this their whole lives.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to take, like, we've seen like people dead this year in front of us.
A lot of
and we can't see. I don't want anybody who's watching this to get in the habit of thinking that, yeah, shit is real now because white people are fucking pissed off.
Right.
Now there's a gang of angry white people, and now revolution and real times in this country are imminent. What people need to understand, I understand why you're saying it, but I also understand that when people hear this shit, there's like a certain level, because Rachel, when they turn on the news, MSNBC is going to be talking about this with the same serious tone of voice and dramatic tone of voice that you are, because MSNBC does have a measured interest in giving these people power. So I want everybody watching this shit to also know, while you're talking about how they are violent and they are serious, that these people are also pathetic. They did not come out here in numbers to win a real confrontation with people that are out here to defend themselves and their communities. That group, had it not been for the police, would have not been there. And we've seen that all summer long, Rachel. Have you not seen when protesters squared off with counter-protesters this year? How did it go for them when we showed up in massive numbers? Were they happy with those results, or did they fucking run? Is that, now, while you're talking about the truth of their deadly intent, is the truth of our ability to respond to them not also true?
I mean, I don't think anything I've said contests that.
I know, I agree.
But I think this is a clear escalation.
This is an escalation. I want people to go turn this shit off and realize that you are not helpless. And some people get on here and act dramatic for likes because they're intimidated.
Yes.
Because they've been seeing images their whole life that this is power, and it's not.
Right.
Understand that the number of behind these, like, the number of able-bodied people that are really willing to risk their life here isn't. It's not a large number. We saw that after Charlottesville, when these people got pushed back and got response from the actions that they were taking, and society made clear that this shit wasn't acceptable. Most of these people tucked their tail and dipped out as soon as things got heated. The problem is right now, for these people, it's not heated. They're at like the fair. They're having a party. The president's rooting them on. I want to see whether, because let's be clear, we saw dead people on our side and still came out the next day. Yes. So let's, without getting banned from YouTube, this thing is something that unfortunately the police will escalate further. And I've seen what their response is to push back, and it's not like a strong response. This is going to escalate and get worse. But this is like, nobody should look at this shit and be demoralized, because these folks aren't acting out of strength. They're acting out of weakness, dude. A black dude just got elected to the United States Senate, and a Jewish dude in fucking Georgia. And they're not out here fucking partying. They're out here because they're fucking humiliated. Right. And anybody who's dealt with dudes like this know that when they feel humiliated, they act out. So when that happens, you got a choice to whether you're going to be like, it's serious now. Those people do need to be treated dangerously, but they also need to be treated with fucking derision. And nobody who's watching this needs to go home thinking that these people have got a grip on society, got a grip on the culture, got a grip on the people, got a grip on power, because they're out after it. But I want you to understand, Rachel, I know you've been hanging around people like this your whole life, and you think that this is how power manifests itself. And this ain't the only way power manifests itself.
Use me as a straw man.
Yeah. Listen, I think you've been acting as a strong man. You said that there'd be a violent civil war in the next 4 months. How many dead people does that mean? And where are those dead people in your civil war going to be located, Rachel? Hey, let me finish my sentence. Are those dead people in my neighborhood, Rachel? Are they coming to my block to murder me? And do I have the means to stand up for myself? Because when we talk about brainwashing, it don't just exist out in other people. It exists in ourselves too, and the media that we take in and the messages that we put out. I apologize for speaking over you, but this can't be the message that we leave this stream with neither.
I mean, but we talk about this all the time. We talk about the nature of power all the time. And I agree with you. Power is how many people you can get to show up for you, not necessarily how many guns you have or, you know, whether you're holding a state capitol building. But also, I mean, this is a pretty secure section of the country.
Yeah.
Dispersed throughout the country.
These people were allowed to be there.
30% of the country. Now,
yes.
Some of them are willing to actually show up and fight? Probably a lot less. But that doesn't mean that this is not serious. And I feel like you are really like holding me saying this is serious and escalating and a sign, you know, a portent of more violence to come in the way you are is like really fair and dismissive.
No, well, I'm not being dismissive, but this summer you looked me in the eye and you looked a large group of people in the eye and said you were prepared to die.
Yeah.
They got guns out up there.
I'm not ready to die, Rachel. I'm here to live. I think a lot of people who are in this struggle aren't here to die or prove themselves because we've already had shit taken from us.
Well, I mean, I
want people to understand that this right here that y'all are watching, y'all, to some of y'all, this is new. We've had this in our communities for a long time, and it wasn't because it was a mob of people. It was a bunch of people in notebooks exercising political power, and they were bound and determined to deny people health care. It was determined to deny people justice, determined to cause people harm. It's good that these people are out here because they seem seen. They're losing power. That should be the #1 headline tonight. And yes, it's true when people lose power, they lash out and tap people. But I don't want nobody to get up here, oh, they're coming for us. Be ready to die. Is your message to the left, Rachel? Be ready to die? At these people's hands? These fucking losers?
Wildly unfair exaggerations of what I'm actually
saying. I know. Well, go ahead.
Wildly unfair exaggerations of what I'm actually saying. And you should know better because we've talked about this a lot, more than just on stream. And you shouldn't just use me as a caricature to knock down the idea that this is serious just because you're mad that some people are exaggerating it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I don't think any of the other things you said are incompatible with this, right? But there is a reality to this. We know because they've been killing us, if you go to protests, you might die. So yeah, if you're willing to go to a protest, you need to go with the understanding you might die.
Rachel,
That's not an exaggeration. That is demonstrable fact, right? Also, there is no denying these people's intent because they are saying out loud what their intent is. There's no denying that these people have this massive section of society under their thumb. My question is, do we on the left have the organization we need to rise up and fight them and push them back if they actually seriously go for it? Because these are people who have been actively building militias. We don't have militias. We have the Not Fucking Around Coalition, and we have Socialist Rifle Association, and neither of those are militias. Those are people with guns who are trying to create militias. We are very behind. That's what I'm saying.
Why is that?
Because we haven't done it. I don't know, how do you explain, why haven't we organized? Because things are too comfortable for rich white people for too long. Because our society has been structured since it was created to actively silence and crush any kind of, popular movement of the people that the system is breaking. Because up until recently, Black Lives Matter was a Black issue. And people don't care about Black people in this country because we're racist. There's a lot of reasons, right? There's a lot of different reasons how we ended up here, but it doesn't change the reality of our current circumstances any more than it changes the way we need to behave to get through this, which is exactly what you're saying we need to do.
Well, all right. Well, Rachel, I've heard you talk about, do you think a community garden is going to save your life if this happens 4 months from now?
No, I think building community is going to solve the problem long term. That's a very different thing. There are differences between short and long-term strategy. Short-term strategy is literally just getting people to talk to us because right now they aren't.
So is defending yourself in a violent resolution part of your long-term strategy?
I hope not.
Is it part of your short-term strategy?
I hope not.
For you to come out and tell people that that there's going to be a civil war in the short term, and you don't have a short-term strategy to tell people who tune in to protect themselves from that? Do you think that there's like a failure there?
Yes.
Okay,
But
so
I'm not
modify.
one
All right,
person.
well,
I'm not a movement.
well,
I
what?
have been here actively organizing and railing against this for months, but I can't just make things happen.
No.
Like,
Well, what do you recommend as a course of action if you think this is happening in 4 months and you genuinely believe that?
if I genuinely believe people are going to start shooting, I don't think that's avoidable. That's my whole.
I'm not talking about terrorism. I'm talking about war.
Yeah, but you're talking like we already established that my definition of a civil war doesn't meet your definition of a civil war.
Sure.
So for the kind of violence I am talking about that I think is inevitable, there's nothing to do. We can't stop that from happening. It's too late to stop that from happening. In the same way that it's probably too late to really stop a lot of the shit that's going to happen with climate change from happening. It's just a necessary function of like how long it takes to organize.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think we should be like trying to focus on elections in the next, 6 months when we don't have a lot of elections happening anyway, and when we have to be doing really significant organizing because this is what we're up against.
What is the
My computer is about to die. I'm going to hop off for a second and grab my charger. I will be right back.
Yeah, go get out of here. What is it that we're trying to do here? Like, what do you want to do for the next 4 months? I think that first of all, there is going to be, but it's not going to be directed at you guys. It's going to be directed at the state, and it's going to be the state's problem. I mean, listen, they're not at Merrimack's right now. They're at the U.S. Capitol, and that's going to be their problem to deal with, not ours. And go ahead, April.
I was just going to say, in other news, we have confirmation that one person was shot at the Capitol. CPR is currently being performed. That's all that's confirmed. We don't know who else has been injured so far.
How many? One?
One person has been shot. We have confirmed. CPR is currently being performed.
Do we know whether this person was a Capitol Police or a protester?
We do not know. We do not know.
So, like, what do you make of that?
What do you mean, that our enemies are willing to kill people or shoot at people?
Well, I mean, just like in context, right? You're talking about like, what do you think we do now, Brandyn?
I think, well, first of all, I think we should stop being defeatist.
Okay. Acknowledging the scope of the problem is defeatist.
I think that maybe the scope of this problem has been acknowledged today in a very defeatist way. And people who are watching can obviously make their own determination of where they want to put their emphasis, this, coming time. When we have like this kind of stuff, we are behind the ball. And I don't necessarily, first of all, understand that even though we're behind the ball, you are not looking at two versions of the same thing. It's so important that people who are watching this, because your eyes can fucking lie to you. And it makes it look like this crowd here overwhelmed the police. And the first thing that we gotta nail down is that they were allowed in.
Right.
If there's any version of this that isn't that they were allowed in for a photo op, then we are emboldening them to too high of a degree.
Okay.
So number one, the right wing is extreme. The right wing is violent. The right wing is radical. The right wing was allowed into the U.S. Congress for a photo op. This is not a demonstration of power, although we know what their intent is. This is not a demonstration of power that should be taken as a stronger demonstration, unless you want to like say, well, the fact that they were able to get in collusion with the state and da-da-da.
Yes, I do think that matters, actually. I think if you are correct, that does nothing to absolve, or not to absolve, but to, diffuse the problem, right? If they were let in and they just shot somebody after being let in, that's power. That is exactly the kind of power I mean when I say power is who shows up for you, right? Because if they were let in, that means they have the power of the police on their side.
We don't know yet how these relationships are going to play out once there is a governmental change.
Right.
And Rachel, I assume that you believe that there will be a governmental change. Or do you think that they will occupy the Capitol, hold it, refuse to seat the senators, and war will start?
I think it is entirely too early to tell.
I don't want... Lau, what's up? How are you, Lau?
Yo, is the revolution
It's
happening?
nothing like dipshittery's happening. And
Me and I are in disagreement about how severe this is. Put it that way.
I think
Well,
that go ahead, Lau.
Well, okay, so in my head, I'm wondering how much of this is symbolic and how much of this is like actual like stuff, like coup stuff happening.
Mhm.
And I don't know. We're just gonna have to find out, right?
Listen,
Yeah.
stay prepared, but don't panic. Because this is going to be part of American life for quite a while.
Yeah.
This is I think we all agree that this kind of shit is not going away.
Yes.
And I think we also both agree that this will get worse.
Yes.
I think we also agree that there's like not a lot that, especially if this is the vision, which is small, loud incidents, in the same way that whenever there's a Democrat that's president, yes, I'd like to cut to the Biden statement when it's ready. Yeah, just cut in and give us Biden when he's on screen. We do have, I think we are going to see like a time when small, angry groups can cause lots of violence. And I think it's the kind of violence, political terrorism, is hard to prepare for. You can't, unless you're just going to carry when you go to church and, and do anything. And in that situation, you're not going to be organized. It's going to be like person with a gun, in a dangerous situation. It's not always possible to prepare for any just sort of random act of violence. And we are going to see random acts of violence escalate over the next 4 years, period. Yeah. The degree to which we see organized violence between actors inside the government and paramilitary organizations is an issue that, one, will directly challenge the legitimacy of the state and will, to some extent, be the state's problem. Not entirely, but to an extent. We have an incredible amount of work that has to be done in the next really 10 years, because we're talking about like irreversible climate change.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we're going to seize political power in the next 10 years to like return the spigot. Like Bernie Sanders wanted to do that, and he lost, and it's kind of over with now. But however, we have the chance to be prepared in terms of movements and politics and popularity, so that we can, number one, when there are incidents of violence, we can transform the community's outrage over that into political action, especially when there is a nominally democratic president. We have the ability to group people in together and drive them into building institutions. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. And I don't know if we'll talk about it right this moment, but before all of this started, we talked about how important it was that we have like institutions that work outside of elections, because elections can't deal with all this shit, because we just had an election and won.
Yeah. And these people don't think of themselves as just purely voters. Like, like I'm not sure if we're going to have time to like discuss about this right now, but like, I wonder how much or how useful it would be to talk about like thinking about groups like these in terms of like religion, right? Like to me, like this seems like a big church is coming up to the White House, and they're representing their church. And it's not like I'm exactly like putting it in a demeaning sort of way. What I'm saying is that this is a group of people that like we can't have discussions, right? Like there's just no possible way to like form a discourse with these people. Yeah. And the thing about theology and religion is that it's really useful to imagine how to communicate to someone who obviously isn't like ready or willing to communicate with you, right? That's like the whole thing about like religion and like going to the absolute limit, seeing God or whatever, right? But this can like apply right now in political terms, in terms of like how we can reach out, if at all, to these people, how we can sort of see their plight or whatever in terms of like their actual socioeconomic like suffering, their material conditions, right? And that's something that it seems like Democrats haven't gotten a good grasp on how to communicate with these people. And so from my point of view, like there's not really so much of a distinction between like religion and politics here. What it really is about communicability and like intelligibility. And if we can't make if we or they can't make their own like stakes and stuff intelligible and communicable, then we're playing a different game, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's like more of like the theological religious game that sometimes happens.
That is actually exactly why I recommend things like community gardens that are sort of value neutral, because it creates sneaky opportunities to convince these people to warm up to these ideas, right? Because we talk about like cognitive psych, when we talk about decision making, when we talk about how people feel about things and react to things, familiarity is a huge part of it. Hearing about things repeatedly makes people feel warmer towards them. Familiarity with the other does a lot to diffuse bigotry and violence. You know, that kind of community building is going to be essential to diffusing this bomb. And I mean, there's no way we're going to do it just by yelling at them or by talking to them. We are going to have to actually develop relationships with these people.
Listen, Mary, one of our DSA buddies, just popping up. Yeah. Trump refused to concede. Yeah, this is, I mean, just an intentional incitement. And not only does Trump own that incitement, the people, that's funny. That's hilarious. The people that, yeah, tell me about it. The people that were inciting this weren't just the president. It was like half the Republican Party. And the degree to which, I mean, unfortunately, they've taken this now so far that now Biden will look ridiculous letting this go when he does. So I think Biden's just going to feel a little bit embarrassed, like, because now we'll be able to compare and contrast some of these responses over the next 4 years. And even if you're a politically non-engaged person, dog, like, listen, you don't have to be in fucking DSA or be in a damn mutual aid working group. You can get in your Uber and talk to your driver, who's probably a black person that's stressed out if you live in my part of town, and show them this footage. And they're all going to be like, ain't no fucking what, you know, it's only going to be a group that looks like that let in there. And it's only going to be Pentagon. I've never heard about the Pentagon ever being concerned with the optics of uniformed military personnel anywhere in the fucking world. Not anywhere in the fucking planet. I don't think I've ever heard the phrase Pentagon concerned with the optics of uniformed military personnel anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Can you imagine if a foreign adversary were here? You guys took an oath that supposedly says defend the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic, and they're placed on equal footing. Can you imagine if these people were Chinese and were in the Capitol building? Do you guys think that there would be any? Can you put that banner up again? Concerned with the optics of uniform, just for 5 more minutes, 5 more seconds.
It's the stupidest thing.
Concerned with the optics of uniformed military personnel.
And this is why they haven't authorized the National Guard yet. That's their reasoning.
Yes.
Nuts.
When have they ever hesitated to beat down leftists?
When have these people ever hesitated to beat the shit out of anybody in the world? And if these people were even if they were Chinese American, there would be some heads getting busted right now.
And that is exactly the kind of power I'm talking about and afraid of, is the fact that they are in a position where they are literally inside the Capitol building, multiple reports of shots being fired, and the Pentagon's response to that is, well, it might look bad if we sent in the National Guard. Like, they're shooting in the Capitol building. If these people were not a bunch of white dudes and a handful of white women, they would already be dead. Well,
listen, I want this stream to be one.
Yes, I will say white privilege. White privilege is what's doing it.
I'd love it if I don't know how to say this. I'd love to be able to monetize the stream. Looks like that's out the window. Sometimes you're not doing monetizable content. Yeah. You know, we can do YouTube reactions to other people's videos later on, and we'll crank out like 10 of those and we'll make plenty of money. This is world events.
Let me ask you a question though.
What's up, Lau?
You think when you go to mass that the church is worried about whether the current mass is like monetizable or not?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. What do you mean?
Well, no, what I'm asking is like when are we gonna have our left church, man?
I want this. Yeah, no, that's what we were
When
talking
are we gonna
about
have assets and stuff, like real churches and stuff?
Yeah,
because we're still so. I mean, on Twitter.
I want to save this. I want to save this conversation because I want to talk about it at 4. But we do need to. But that does need to be our big takeaway. And everybody, like, get a pen and paper while you're out here at your computer and start writing down your thoughts, because we do need to talk about building institutions. And this
before you can cut into that, I just want to give another breaking alert. Protesters have occupied the Kansas State House. So this is across a number of states now.
Here's another let you in kind of occupation. Yeah. That's cool. Whatever. When we talk about Rachel, Rachel, I'll give you the floor. What do you think is going to happen in Kansas? What do you think the body count will be?
I have no idea, because these situations are extraordinarily unpredictable.
Yeah, they are unpredictable.
Nobody knows what's going to happen, and if somebody tells you that they know what's going to happen, they're lying or they're trying to push something.
Yes.
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 Absolutely. So, with that said, let's talk about, let's preview institutions, because you are looking at this and feeling physically unprepared. What's the preparation from a media perspective? What's the preparation from a cultural perspective?
Well, I mean,
what's the preparation from a...
Go ahead.
I mean, when you talk about some of this stuff and we give you the floor for an hour, you have basically, when I let you go on for a long time, it feels like we need to completely organically remake society in our free time,
which we don't have. Yeah,
right.
I have at no point been unaware of the scope of the problem.
Right.
And when I talk about it openly, you call me defeatist, but
I've never
a problem. And I mean, what we're seeing here is in no small part because our media refused to engage with these people like the terrorists they are, right? That's a huge part of it. We have been, culturally speaking, ignoring this festering wound for a really long time. And I mean, how do we play catch up, right? How do we go back and retroactively fix our mistakes? We can't, right? The question is, once we figure out what exactly this is, if this is actually a serious attempt at a coup, if there is actually going to be more organized violence throughout the country, if this is, a coordinated attack on the state, then we'll react one way. If it's some sort of stochastic terrorism because Trump's been up on a podium saying the election's illegitimate, then we have a little more time, right? We have more time to try and defuse the bomb. I don't know which it is yet. Neither of us do. None of us do.
Sort of looting heart. Yeah, that's where they'll get.
Clever.
Sure, I guess.
Honestly, that's clever. Like,
and also, it's aside from the fact that the media's just been complicit in,
yes,
not maybe in a direct way, but in a very indirect manner of just supporting and reinforcing like this type of behavior anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to do episodes about state response to terrorism because
they're not gonna.
Well, here's the thing: it's not even the quality of the content. Number one, it's hard to share in most formats, especially a format like this where we're just here talking to each other live. It's difficult to share, and also like it's difficult to stay on the platform and talk about this with like full frankness.
Yeah.
And this is what I said on Twitter like last year, if Joe Biden and the incoming power structure is taking this seriously, then they should be able to deal with this efficiently, because like I said, these people were let in.
And if for some reason the incoming power structure is unable to do that, then that is I feel that that is something that we need to look at more closely than how much the right escalates.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there's one thing I am sure of, it is that the Biden administration is fully willing to use military force against its own citizens.
Right.
I'm very confident of that.
Yeah.
And the
go
question
ahead.
is what will happen after.
And you've also got to remember that, like, you know, we've had in other countries, sometimes this happens faster than it has in America. We can't say for sure whether, you know, social problems in America, just if you read a history book, have a history of lengthy escalation, just because of the size of the country. Like if you were to look at like any long civil strife in American history, especially one that had an impact on like the actual mechanisms of power, unless one of y'all have a counterexample, it generally isn't like in, you know, Western Europe where things change in like a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, but despite that, in other countries, you've seen places where incidents that have just been fighting in the capital have gone south really fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's sort of a snowball effect with stuff like this, right? It's cumulative. Sure. So, like, and I've been saying this repeatedly throughout the stream today, this has been brewing for a long time.
Yeah.
This is not a sudden thing. This has been happening slowly over the last 20 years. It's like a frog in a pot situation, right?
Sure.
Every single one of these mass shootings that a white supremacist did was moving us towards this. Every single time, you know, somebody like Tom Cotton or Donald Trump got elected, or David Perdue even ended up in office with that kind of platform, it was a step towards this.
Sure.
Like, we have been losing this battle for decades, or losing this war for decades. So this battle really only should come as a surprise to people who have just completely not been paying attention. They have been telegraphing their intentions the whole time.
I think a lot of this is because the violence has just gotten caught into the grifting. A lot of the right-wing infrastructure just over the last, you know, 40 or 50 years grew so well and so quickly and became so profitable because it was a grift. And it was targeted at people who had disposable income for maybe the first time, thanks to, funnily enough, Social Security.
I think we've been heading for something like this since probably the Goldwater campaign in 1964.
I would definitely say, like, if you were to do a documentary about what's happening now, then it's not a documentary that's useful unless it starts with like the John Birch Society, because like that's been just a constant, the paranoid strain of American politics, but it hasn't become like a really great grift until old people were given like a sustainable floor of income by the government. Because these guys, like these people who in the past would just watch Father Coughlin on the radio or whatever, now they are more able to send in money, funnily enough, because that economic redress was not melded with any kind of education. It wasn't melded with any kind of like anti-racism. It's certain like that obviously wasn't something that existed back then in the halls of power. It's a large spectrum of things basically that have got to be handled before we can even like talk about this current situation. So now that grift is just escalated from radio to TBN to Rush Limbaugh, and obviously, like Newt Gingrich, and in fact, you probably couldn't do a documentary about what's going on right now without talking about Newt, because Newt was really the person who took like all of this newsletter shit and turned it into political or whatever.
Good old boy.
But it's important. It's important that everybody understands that whether it's Gingrich or Reagan, all of that stuff was a 10 to 12-year project. Yeah. This is not like natural. This is not like natural power that comes from
that Trump did.
Right. This is not natural power that comes from having a flag and being mad and wanting to kill. That's not where the power comes from. The power comes from work that's done over the course of like 12 to 15 years. Yes. And other people inherit the work that you do. Like the kind of mobilization that you're seeing, not like at this event, but like the Tea Party, like anything. That stuff is like because there was like 15 to 20 years of groundwork. Like they have like content information who signed up for something 15 years ago. Whether it was their church group or whether it was Limbaugh or whether it was, and obviously it was also a lot of groups.
Yeah, They started their preaching early, and they got their preachers, and they got their money, and they got their assets. And
but all of that's super true. However, anyone who's familiar with the history of the religious right knows, and this is like the big difference on both sides, although we all have the same challenges in terms of speaking and convincing and this and that. Those political movements were recruited into the right financially.
Yeah.
Like the stuff like abortion was toured around churches.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff came with like a financial incentive to attach those institutions to that political project.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you imagine like a world where we were taking that money that we had all sent to these damn politicians and like, I'm 15% joking, like bought churches, like, or things that people are already, you know, dealing with and engaging with.
Yeah.
We can't, well, anybody can do anything.
We don't have money like that.
Yeah, that's an extremely expensive institution. And instead, our institutions are gone towards like Amy McGrath is kind of where our institutions are really interested in, like helping Amy McGrath lose. So
God.
Number one, there's got to be like a little more conscious institution building. You can't do that on Twitter.
No.
Because I've seen the people on Twitter attempt to do it. First of all, you can't, let me just be fucking more real. You can't do it with tweeters. Like you literally, you can't do it with the people who are on Twitter because I've seen them like attempt to do organizational building. And in most cases, it's terrible.
Force the vote.
I mean, there's a million, well, listen, the people who have been like hilarious failures about everything that they said was life or death for working people all year, when they said that, hey, we need to do such and such action on rent or else people are going to lose their homes, and they didn't fucking achieve anything, despite their urgency. And you could say that about for 5 different campaigns that group of people did this year. Whether it was a general strike, it's urgent, people are going to die. I don't want like our messaging to be Kat, listen, Kat, first of all, it's a bad idea because it's already over. The moment came and went and you lost. So how was it a good idea?
Your only strategy was to get Pelosi in there and you
snatched the movement's energy for like during the time when $2,000 was on the line for Americans to scream at Nancy Pelosi. That clearly was a bad idea because now you got I'm sorry, I'm screaming your username on Twitter, on YouTube, and you're here on a platform where maybe you've seen over time that like we bring up comments and bring them. If you'd like to comment anonymously, just do so. Anyway, when we talk about like this kind of stuff, okay, how do you push people, Kat? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what else to call you in terms of your username or how to speak to you. How else do you push someone? YouTube user, because like that push clearly didn't come from getting on Slack, and that push didn't come from Nancy Pelosi's replies on Twitter. Like that's not like, unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are on social media and think that is holding politicians accountable, and it's not. Are you part of an organization that was directly responsible for the person you're pushing getting elected?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You tell me.
Right.
And even if you weren't, are you gathering up like actual people in the world based on issues that they care about? And it's probably not force the vote or Nancy Pelosi. Like I would bet. Because like the people that are mad at Nancy Pelosi doesn't have that kind of because people are against force the vote. Does that make it a bad idea?
No, but whether it's a good idea or a bad idea is irrelevant to whether you have enough power to actually make it happen.
Whether it's a good idea or not is up to the National Nurses United, who have actually been listen, hey, is Medicare a bad idea? Is he funding it? No, listen, this is the problem. This is absolutely the number one problem. Like we have a lot of people who think that like bad or counteractive strategies become good because of the policies that they're advocating for.
Right.
If I walk to the Georgia State Capitol with a Medicare for All shirt and light myself on fire in front of the Capitol, yes, I will have taken a bold stand for a policy that I care about, but I will not have worked to motivate other people who live with me and organize with me and care about the same issue that I care about to work with me to get that goal done.
Right.
Now, are you saying that like, hey, anything where I support Medicare is a good thing? I mean, yes. I mean, I suppose. But however, the people who were telling you like that wasn't a good use of your energy a week and a half ago and you were cussing them out, now 10 days have passed. And what are you organizing around now? It's a long-term goal.
Yeah.
Because hey, like we've only got a few years. That's the only thing that we're pointing out. All this is not on no unlimited timetable. And I sit up here and I tell y'all, hey, this ain't happening tomorrow. So don't panic. But when I tell you that because I want you to not be demoralized or afraid, but to work.
Yeah.
So if you are taking like your indignation or whatever, and it's not directly translating to like actual like activism that pressures people in power, and I don't know whether people in power were pressured by us infighting on Twitter, because I saw Lib Twitter, and let me tell you, Lib Twitter wasn't stressing no force to vote. Did you see any of your Emmys worried about the actions that you were taking? Did you hear any like? Just think about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the liberal standpoint has been, you know, we need to do whatever we can do to keep the people who are currently storming the Capitol building from having more institutional power than they already do. And I think that's actually a valid standpoint.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to.
Also, I mean, I think these are all very good ideas. And again, how good an idea is completely irrelevant to whether you can execute on it.
Yeah. Did you
It doesn't matter if it's a good idea. Are you being effective? That is the question. Are you the individual with the idea doing the most effective thing you can do to realize that idea?
Well, even if it's not the most effective thing, I think that just people.
Or like even just a little effective, right? Like yelling force the vote on Twitter is not effective, period.
At all. It's not in the same universe.
The person who was in favor of force the vote, actually, who thinks force the vote is a good idea for later when we actually organize and prepare for it.
People think that being angry is leverage. I think we have a large portion of Twitter that thinks like, I don't know who this YouTube user is, but like, are you a poor person? Have you ever needed something and not been able to have it? And what did you do? Because like I hear like you don't want to join my Slack, and that's classist. Like first of all, I'm already in a lot of Slacks. I'm doing some shit that like I know that I can deliver on for people, and it's maybe not as flashy, but it's still relevant. Listen, they took a census of who supported who, and it was called an election, and we got our.
Here's the thing: if those supporters are pushing back, it's your job to convince the supporters. And my question for you is, have you done so effectively? What have you done to change their minds?
Well,
and if you're not able to change their minds, that's still on you. It is still on the people with the idea to convince other people to come along. That is our job as organizers. Regardless of what our idea is, our job is to get people on board with that idea and help make people believe in that idea with us. You know, and if you can't do that, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter how good your idea is. If you cannot get other people on board, if you cannot build real power by getting people to show up for you, you don't have anything. And that's what we need to be building on the left. That's what we need to be building within the left. That's what we need to be doing before we start trying to do hashtag campaigns. We have to actually build real world power with people who will show up for us. Lau, it looked like you were trying to say something.
Here's one thing I learned. For some reason, if I'm on an Uber drive, even though I shouldn't be outside and stuff, instead of going on my phone and yelling at people on Twitter, I'm going to go talk to my Uber driver. And I'm going to go talk to that person about politics. Talk
to your Uber driver and have a business card when you talk to your Uber driver, because half your Uber drivers are trying to do something on the side. Yeah. I have so many conversations with drivers and with just people on MARTA and with regular like ass people.
Yeah.
And probably my number one regret is that I don't keep collateral on me all the time when I have those good conversations, because you meet a lot of nice looking people on MARTA.
You know what? Now that I think about it, same thing applies to like all of these food deliverers, right?
Yeah.
Because like this is like that's part of the gig economy too, and you can probably strike up a conversation when someone delivers your food.
You can talk to everybody all of the time, actually. Just literally bring it up constantly. Annoy people with it. Like, I said this earlier, I'll repeat it again. We know from cognitive psychology that familiarity breeds warmth. Even if somebody just hears the same thing enough times, they will warm up to the idea just by being exposed to it repeatedly. So talk to everybody all the time.
One of the most important things. That's correct. One of the most important things, and I think that we should probably start a little sooner. One of the most important things when we're talking about, having those kind of conversations, is that you're doing a little institution building just by talking to people and giving them a way to contact you. I was in West Atlanta, in like my old neighborhood, which is like a very torn down kind of neighborhood, and it's both torn down and also it's very wooded. So if you can go through like a torn down part of town, and then you can go like 3 blocks, and then it's a vague approximation of the suburbs if you're not looking too closely. And I saw just multiple house signs, like yard signs, in the same way that there was an election, and you see like the yard sign that says Raphael Warnock. They saw one that said, neighborhood association, and had an outline of the neighborhood, a phone number, and a website, and like, hey, talk to your neighbors, is what it said, something to that extent. And I was like, shit, literally anybody can do that. Go to your print store and do it if it's important to you. But like one-on-ones are fundamental.
Well, and it does take money to make signs and stuff like that. And if you don't have money, you can still canvas. You can still get you and a couple of friends together, somebody who's got a car, right? 5 people in a car, get COVID tested first, wear your masks, but like, just go down the block, 5 people get out, knock on 5 doors, get back in the car, drive down a little further, and knock on the next 5. That is how you organize. There is no way to do it other than that. You have to physically talk to human beings in the real world with your face meat.
Yeah. There are 2 things that are important. You can bring people to you. Like all this stuff can be done digitally. Now, listen. Now, the organizing has to be a face-to-face conversation. Yeah. But the actual infrastructure, if you because we talk to people who are disabled regularly, not every day, but are like, dude, I can't do all that legwork. And much of this can just be like, hey, have a conversation with people who live in your city. The problem is that for a lot of people, they feel, and we have this to a certain extent, but they feel like surrounded by people who don't share their politics.
Yeah.
How do you organize when you're surrounded by people who don't share your politics, and you feel like, hey, I'm the only person who feels the way I feel?
Start with something neutral that everybody agrees on. No matter what kind of community you live in, there is at least one annoying thing going on that everybody wants to see changed. Yeah. You start there. That's where you start. And while you're doing that work, you start slowly introducing these ideas. It is basically the same as when you're trying to, for example, organize a union at work, right? You start with 1 or 2 people who you try to persuade to help you persuade other people. And it is a slow process. It is a painstaking process, and there is absolutely no way around it. It doesn't matter how quickly you can kick a hashtag off the ground on Twitter, right? It is no substitute for the long, slow, annoying process of community building, which is what you have to do. So whether that means there is somebody's yard is really ugly and needs to be mowed very badly, and you organize a group of people to help this person keep their lawn mowed because maybe they're elderly or disabled themselves, right? Whether it's there's an intersection that really needs a stoplight and you organize people to demand a stoplight, whether it is just people physically getting together and picking up trash off the side of the road as a group to beautify the community, right? These are easy, neutral things that you can start with, even if you are surrounded by people who have the opposite politics of you, who would be willing to help you do that.
Yeah.
And when we work with each other on common goals, we diffuse bigotry. That is how it works. Cognitively speaking, that's how it works socially. When we actively build things with the other, they are no longer the other. They are of us. They are of our community. And that is the kind of love we need to be building. That is the kind of connection we need to be building, and attachment and dedication and commitment we need to be building right around us immediately.
And there is something positive to be said about putting the meeting together. Like, even if you're feel like you're outnumbered or something by the group of people, and maybe they're kind of shitty. You're going to get a certain amount of sway for just being the person that gets everybody together and buys the beer and holds the meeting together. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I'll also say, if you're in a situation, and I've been in situations like this, where you feel like you are doing something that's kind of organic and everybody there's not going to share your politics, smuggle people in with you. Like, literally, I've been in organizing, spaces where the people may share the same goal, maybe, but like their tactic is totally different or whatever. So I will just call like 3 people who I know will support me. And maybe you don't have that yet. Maybe it's one person, but show up and have somebody to just to bounce off you during the meeting. That's freaking good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we would call that a confederate in psychology. Actually, you have somebody who's in on it.
Yeah.
They're a confederate. But I mean, yeah, I agree with you completely. And, if you are one of those people who is watching this and feeling really helpless or dispirited, you don't even know where to start, always, my DMs are open. No matter what state you live in, I probably know somebody. And if I don't, I can find somebody who can help get you plugged in. Send me a DM on Twitter, on Facebook, or an email. It is all the same. It is all this one right here. That is where you can reach me everywhere. Reach out to me. I will help you get involved.
It's great. That's great branding. Let me tell you. Listen, I want to talk just for the next hour about institutions. And I want to start with small scale institutions that anybody who's watching this can start today.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like extremely low end institutions that are you and the people that talking about things that you care about and things that are extremely close by. So with that being the premise for this, you guys in any good DM groups?
Define good.
Are you talking with other people who share your priorities? And are they interested in acting on the priorities that you share? And do you like being there? That's the other thing.
I mean, of course I am, right? But we do this all the time.
Right.
We have built our communities. I can tell you the things that make those kinds of organizations work best is everybody comes in with an attitude of how can I help you achieve this goal?
Right.
And it is very different from this is how you achieve your goal, right? Because we shouldn't be coming into this from a place of like dominance and like we're the experts, right? Because at the end of the day, you can know absolutely every academic fact about organizing and you will still run up against people who provide, unexpected new challenges, right?
Right.
You can't learn this shit from a book exclusively. You do have to actually listen to people and hear what they need, right? So in all of the best groups, and that includes, honestly, the co-op that, we present this show on, right? Including Not Safe Media, every single person comes to the table with an attitude of, how can I help you make this happen? And we listen to each other sincerely. We hear each other's ideas. If we disagree with somebody's idea, excluding when we're on the air and we're trying to be bombastic for, entertainment value and attention, right? Mm-hmm. We have real conversations about why. We say like, hey, like, I agree with these parts of it. I think this is a good idea. I'm concerned about these barriers to this goal. Right. And it becomes much more focused instead of like on moral or ethical decisions. You have a group that sort of broadly agrees on the goal and the ethics and the morals behind it. And then from there is strategizing and cooperating to plan and execute solutions.
Lau, are there 10 people in your personal life that really have your back?
I know, right? 10's a lot. That's a real high number.
Maybe not 10, maybe 5.
5. Kennedy, would you say closer to 5 or 5-ish, 10-ish?
10.
Rachel, what's your number?
Okay. I'm just going to go with people I would be willing to ask help me move a couch. as people who like would show up for me.
Yeah, but they're not always. But let's say to expand this, if a person was, they live in a different state or whatever, and they would if it was feasible.
Right. Okay. Like 8, 9, it's close.
Yeah.
But I'm like an unusually popular person too, so I don't want to like make it sound like extremely charming.
Yeah, you're right.
You're right. Just like me, and easily pick up people who would die for you, because that's not like.
Yeah. Listen, that group might be like 3, and they also might not all be on the same platform, and that's kind of tough too. Like your friends are sometimes on different platforms.
Yeah.
So you've got to, and sometimes we've all had conversations. Oh, you need to get on this. I've had people yelling at me. I got to get on Instagram like the past 3 or 4 months. So number one, you've got to figure out what that number is and how many of them like want to talk to you about these things. And if you don't have any, go find groups of people that already are talking about it and just talk to them. And this is not like a super long process. I mean, Kennedy, like we met on a Discord.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say like was the process of us becoming friends on this Discord? How long was it of a process?
I mean, we started this show in like 3 conversations.
Like we became friends like in a couple of days. Like, hey, how do you feel about this? And we just got on and just started fucking talking. And listen, if you're not going to be able to do this during like the COVID era, it's going to be harder afterwards. This is the time when people kind of want to talk and have these conversations on any platform, I think.
Well, and it's a difficult balance right now, right? Yeah. Because we are so torn between our sort of social responsibility to not spread COVID around everywhere, and the sort of material reality of 40 million people are about to lose their homes.
Yeah.
And the truth of it is, like, there's no good answer to that one.
I don't want to hit like our big, like we do have big problems, and we talked about them before.
Yes.
And like, I want to, like, this sounds kind of lame, but I want to focus on like making friends online.
Yes. Well, and I wanted to say, like, we have to weigh these things, right? We're weighing our options. And I don't mean to bring us back onto these giant problems that you make seem or feel insurmountable. What I mean to say is, like, we have to sort of weigh our options here between, taking the risk of doing something and the risk of doing nothing. And that can be a tough choice. It's a thing you have to consider with every action, every step of the way. You try to just do your best and be a good person. But at the end of the day, if you have 2 or 3 people who really agree with you and who are willing to actively go out and like reach out to people with you, you can basically do whatever, because that's what started Wonks, and then from there we just kept reaching out to people over and over and over again who, seemed like they had similar views to us, who seemed like they had similar personalities to us, and every single time we got to know a new person and brought them into the fold, they came with more people. And that's why I say it's a snowball effect. That's why I say, like, you can start with just 2 or 3 people, because if every single one of those 2 or 3 people brings in 2 or 3 people, suddenly you have thousands and thousands of people, and you can make that happen.
What I would say, and this is just a piece of practical advice, if I were a person that I really just wanted to do community organizing, and I didn't want to be a podcaster, and I also did not want to join an organization, I would find 4 or 5 people who align with me in town. We would set up a meeting, and it's a Zoom meeting, and we would invite a couple people to each of those meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these aren't famous people, right? So you're not inviting Rachel to come and hang out with you, although she probably would.
I would.
But this is really like, who are community figures? Like, who's your local reverend? Mm-hmm. Who is the person that does your, is the voter registration nerd? Who is the person that always shows up to the police forums and talks about how the cops are doing a bad job?
Destiny.
Who is the person at your local public radio?
Yeah.
And even if you don't want to join DSA, who's like people who are at your local DSA chapter and wouldn't mind talking to you? And most people love to be a guest and love to talk. That's literally, despite our incredible incompetence collectively, just people just love hanging out with us. And it helps us get away with a lot. Would that seem like a safe on-ramp from being an online friend with someone to doing something that kind of passed, even though like you're basically agitating yourself. You're bringing in someone to give you the agitation stage of the organization.
Yeah. Well, I think, I said this last night, I'll say it again here. Find the closest organization to the work you want to be doing.
Yes.
And if you can't find that organization, find the biggest one that you don't hate and start there.
I think that's good. I think
this is a network, right? In the same way that you bring in 2 or 3 friends who bring in 2 or 3 friends, that's how we've all done it this whole time. We all know each other. It's a real small group of people, actually. Like everybody knows everybody. So once you get a foothold, and once you start to get to know organizers, it is so much easier to branch out because you will just organically meet these people working with them.
Sure.
And then you can say like, hey, I really want to do like this specific project in my community. Do y'all know anybody who's already doing that kind of work here? Or if not, can y'all help me look? Or can you help me shake some trees? Or, if really nobody else is doing it, can y'all help me get this off the ground?
Yeah.
Because the thing about organizers is we're all doing this because we want to make a difference. We're all doing this because we want to bring people in and we want to fix these problems and create community that way. So when you ask us like, hey, can you help empower me to do this work in my own community? Our answer is going to be yes. Of course, we will do what we can.
So listen, I want to talk more about institutions. We'll come back and we'll talk about like going from this internet stuff to maybe doing a little bit more advanced stuff like the pods and then we'll talk about community building, all that other kind of stuff. But we should also talk a little bit about the news. Many people want to hear about the news, and the news is like continuing to be bad.
So we can bring it back up and show y'all what's going on. We have people in front of the Capitol building continuing to mill about. It looks like they have been at this point ejected from the Capitol building, which is, I guess, nice.
Reports are about 100, 200 people got in. They've been basically forced out now.
Yeah.
However, these people are not dispersing yet. They're still hanging out. They're still very agitated. It's unclear if like this is over. And also, they are storming Kansas Capitol. A lot of state capitals are being stormed simultaneously now. So I don't think this crowd is going to disperse as long as there are people storming state capitals.
Yeah.
I also saw that an explosive device was found at the RNC headquarters in DC, and that they are also evacuating some DNC headquarters for similar reasons. So I would say at this point, although things are not quite as tense as they were perhaps like 30 minutes ago, that things are continuing to stay weird.
Yeah.
And that like we should continue to kind of be prepared for anything in terms of what news might come out at this point.
I mean, yeah. Also, I heard a report coming from our comments. Thank you to Eminent Professor, I'm assuming, that there are cops taking selfies with rioters. So I'm going to pull that up real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll go back to the live feed just to sort of get that delicious, terrible stuff happening.
ACAF, 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 ACAF.
What is ACAF? All cops are friends?
I guess so.
I
don't know.
Probably.
All cops are furries.
Listen, yeah.
That's where these people meet at the furry conventions.
That's not true. I think most furry conventions would kick these guys out.
Oh yeah, actually, well, it's I mean, from what I've heard, there is quite the divide in the furry community over this because there are like Nazi furries.
Yeah, I don't know about
weird contingent of like Nazi trans furries.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, how are you going to be trans and a furry and a Nazi?
Don't you know about them?
They're coming to you too, right? Like,
listen, I gotta tell you. American Civil War, who knows? Furry fandom Civil War, probably, maybe. Anything's possible. This is Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah.
However,
also, this is here's something to laugh at. Pelosi and Schumer have released a joint statement asking Donald Trump to send in the guard and demand the protesters leave.
okay.
Do you think that Donald Trump is going to
I
These
fully
people.
expect Donald Trump to literally wipe his ass with it on camera. Like,
Could we hope? I know 2021's been
have
great.
a vote to see if
Yeah, listen.
force the vote to get the National Guard in.
oh my god. Yeah, this kind of like if that's Pelosi's first statement after she was literally chased out of her office is just like, Donald Trump, please do the right thing, then these guys are gonna get away with anything. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like,
if you're appealing to Donald Trump's humanity, you've already lost.
yeah. Anybody ought to know that.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to talk about starting a podcast.
Okay.
Even if we just do it,
in the background while we talk. I mean,
even if we just do it for 7 minutes or whatever. And as there's news that breaks, like, let's cover the news. But also, like, if you just want to hear somebody recite what's going on and relay you quotes, like, you could just watch NBC. And like, I love our layout. I also am a big fan of NBC's layout, and theirs is slightly better than ours. So like, if you're just here for UI and news, like, go watch NBC Speed. But if you're here because you're on the left and want to do something constructive, that is the brand of our show.
yeah.
So I want to just quickly just talk about, like, first of all, do we need any more podcasts?
No.
Are we full up on podcasts?
Yes.
Were we full up on podcasts when we made a podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, we came up through these ranks against a lot of odds, right? And
Yeah,
it was because we had like an uncommonly effective group of people when it comes to booking and marketing. It is because, you know, we are from a region of the country that is underrepresented in terms of like leftist media. And it is, yeah, I will put that.
Biden finally speaking? Hang on.
If we see Biden on another, I mean, if Biden's talking, we'll go to Biden as soon as we.
Someone in the comments says Biden is speaking. Yes, Biden is speaking. Hold on.
All right, let's get.
We're going to switch to Biden speaking.
Yeah, forget content. This is the content. Let's talk about Biden for a second.
Mm-hmm.
To affirm purpose is to affirm the majesty of
Oh
American
God,
democracy.
we're so fucked.
Today's reminder.
We're screwed, baby.
We're so fucked.
That democracy is fragile, and to preserve it requires people of goodwill, leaders with the courage to stand up, who are devoted not to the pursuit of power, but for the personal interest pursuits of their own selfish interest at any cost, but of the common good. Think what our children watching television is thinking. Think what the rest of the world is looking at. For nearly 2.5 centuries, we, the people, in search of a more perfect union, have kept our eyes on that common good. America is so much better than what we've seen today.
America, you literally have had slaves. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
As I prepared other speeches in the past, I was reminded of the words of Abraham Lincoln in his annual message to Congress, whose work has today been interrupted by chaos. Here's what Lincoln said. He said, "We shall nobly save or merely lose the last best hope on earth."
go
Are
away.
we plugging them? Let's get out.
No, I clicked the
The
wrong
way
way.
is plain,
Trying to delete.
generous, just. A way which, if followed, the world will forever applaud and God must forever bless. The way is plain here, too. That's who we are. It's the way of democracy, of respect, of decency, of honor, and commitment as patriots to this nation. Notwithstanding what I saw today and we're seeing today, I remain optimistic about the incredible opportunities. There's never been anything we can't do when we do it together. And this god-awful display today is bringing home to every Republican and Democrat and Independent in the nation that we must step up. This is the United States of America. There's never, ever, 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 ever been a thing we've tried to do. We've done it together. We've not been able to do it. So President Trump, step up. May God bless America. May God protect our troops and all those folks at the Capitol who are trying to preserve order. Thank you, and I'm sorry to have kept you waiting.
So that was lame. Listen, we don't need, a reporter yelling a question as Biden like limps away. There is obviously like a school of thought that if and I don't know how true this is, but if you believe that you are in a serious struggle with the forces of darkness, that it's probably in your best interest to slow roll this thing until the keys are handed over.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that was, Hardly.
I don't know what that was, though. I can't. There's no there's very little positive.
This is not.
This
is not how you respond when your political opponents are literally threatening you and your colleagues with violence. I don't.
Well, listen, Joe has a different tone in his voice for white people. And
I know.
So this guy's dick got like 4 inches long when Keisha Lance Bottoms was down there screaming, and his tone at this riot in the Capitol was just like this. We literally turned the volume up on this dude all the way, and there was more passion in his voice Keisha Lance Bottoms had more passion in her voice talking about the protests in Atlanta. You're destroying your city. I feel so sad for you. I can't help you. Then certainly Joe Biden did not seem to be treating these people like they were, his people or whatever.
No.
Borderline, they were quoted as, quote, borderline seditious, which means that the response to this will be nothing. At what point do we where is the line, and what's the border? And this is not the stage when open.
Play.
Okay.
Only take a second, but
yeah.
This is from earlier.
Okay, great. So I want everybody to understand that these people were just let through.
They were just. I want everybody to see this because they were literally just let in this morning.
Yeah.
They just moved the barricades aside. Did they ever do that for a BLM protest ever?
You people on the internet have got to start fucking listening to me, because I do have like some fucking perception of what I fucking talk about. Let me tell y'all, when I told y'all that these people were just, I wasn't expecting them to have a video by the end of the day. But when you combine this with literally elected officials just being refused to be seated, like, can you imagine if Kemp had won this election for governor? And again, we're already in an alternate universe because he didn't win. And he comes and they're just like, nah, go home. We're swearing everyone in but you. And you just so at some point, the financial motivation of the grift, or the power motivation of like doing shit like this, there needs to be obviously just some sort of countermand, or else it's just legal. So I don't know what they're gonna. I think we'll see in the next 100 days. But let me tell y'all something, because I think there's a strain that's used to accepting violent right-wing fanaticism as a fact of life, and have just kind of there are a lot of people in this country that ain't gonna put up with that shit.
and they might not be at your local meeting or whatever.
So they're screaming about resignations. I think when we have these sorts of vacuous appeals to civility coming out of the Democratic Party in the face of something like this, it is a perfect microcosm of exactly the problem, right? We have these leaders who are insulated from these events. This is one of the first times probably that the fight has come to their door in the entirety of this crisis. And, they have nothing to offer. Right? They can't offer any of the things that would actually solve these problems. Sorry, y'all, my door rang. My dog's having an aneurysm about it. I'll finish my thought in a second.
That's fine. I just want to say, like, this sort of thing is a large part of why I've been talking about the fact that there is this long-term plan that the Republicans have, and that, like, why is this happening now? Because, like I've been saying, some of these people that have been doing this shit are too old to wait. This is their chance to fucking, like, try to, like, force some kind of authoritarian regime down everybody's throats just to the fullest extent possible. And so they're going to try. They're going to try. And I also just want to say that John Ossoff was just declared victor in Georgia. I'm sure that's going to, by a bunch of people. Obviously, like, not everybody has certified it yet, but like all the major news sources just called it. So I'm sure that's going to just continue to heat these people up.
Yes. Well, I mean, the truth of it is we have a group of people in this country who are an ethnic and religious minority, who are a very specific subset of, white Christians who really sincerely believe they are on the just and righteous side of an ongoing war, not for, material control, but for ideological control of the country. And these are people who are completely committed to really, really rigid, patriarchal, top-down, bureaucratic styles of governance, right? Their entire existence really is centered around this idea of this like one true God who makes all of the decisions for us. These are not people who are going to respond to, we should just be nice and work together. And the fact that that was the best Biden could come up with is disturbing, because right now we have people who are storming state buildings with guns, breaking into them and threatening legislators because of a valid and legitimate election. It's
at this point, no one will even fight for this election anymore. Mike Pence wouldn't even fight for Trump today.
No.
Trump is literally tweeting about how Mike Pence is a traitor right now.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, it's that very authoritarian.
And you're muted if you're trying to. So yeah, I mean, like, everyone has given up on this coup thing that Trump wants, except for these people here, the absolute, just like, the stand back and stand by people. Here they are. They were standing by. They were ready. This is what it looks like when Trump activates them, or when any of these. I mean, like, this is the fascist project in action. Now, is this brand new? No, this has been going on. This has been going on, and the frustrating thing is that, like, what we needed to do to prevent this was, like, put a stop to it when these guys were in the streets 5 years ago, 6 years ago. If anyone had done anything, these kind of statements like Joe Biden just gave is what led us to this. Because what were the statements like from people like Joe after Charlottesville? It was the same shit.
I was actually also thinking of Charlottesville. Like, that was in some ways the point of no return, I think.
No, I don't agree that it was the point of no return at all. Charlottesville should have been the point of stopping this. It shouldn't have been the point of no return. It should have been the point where we all said, hey, maybe we could do something about this because this is obviously fucked.
Yes,
And instead, so many of the Democratic leaders in particular were just like, well, we have to peacefully shake hands with these people and get them to stop by loving them.
I'm glad to have you on this stream.
I mean, when I say that was the point of no return, I mean exactly what you said. We should have stopped it, we didn't. And this is what we said. Like that, when people were gathering in the streets with torches and, you know, shouting things like blood and soil and Jews will not replace us, that should have been the hard stop. And the fact that it wasn't is how we ended up here, right? And God, I mean, that was also the first time when, you know, in this most recent set of tensions, they killed somebody, right? Because that was when Heather Heyer was hit by that car. And it was sort of, to me, in the last, you know, 5 or 6 years of sort of this particular struggle, you know, with the sort of Trumpian minority versus all of the leftists, right? To me, that was kind of like when things really changed in terms of like the tone of the conflict with this group of people, right? And I don't mean in like a larger sense of like, you know, the long arc of history or like civil rights movements, because obviously there have been, you know, an infinite number of times when everything changed, and I'm not speaking, you know, grandly about it. But in terms of this sort of immediate tension, what we are seeing right here on Capitol Hill, that is when it happened, really. I think is when these people started literally killing for it and getting away with it.
And I mean, how many cities are left where there hasn't been a major attack by a right-wing group that ended in a serious injury or death? How many cities are left? Because, you know, they shot someone here, he lived, but he's never going to be the same. They've been shooting people, attacking people, beating people, kidnapping people in every city.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand now. A lot of the people that are watching this, I know, even if you're not as left as we are, you're not surprised by this, because I think a lot of people have been kind of feeling something like this in the air.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this isn't directed necessarily even so much at our audience, but just people out there in general. Why wasn't it enough before? That's what I want to know today. Because like I'm hearing from people, I've got family members that are, you know, oh my God, do you see this? And I'm just wondering why wasn't it enough before today? Why is this protest the one that is making y'all finally realize how big and serious the problem is? Is it because people in power are being threatened as opposed to poor and marginalized folks? Because if that's your reasoning, you need to fucking reconsider your entire goddamn logic. Because the marginalized people, the black people that have been getting killed, the Jewish people that have been targeted, the trans people that have been being murdered for being trans, these were your early warning signs that fascists were out there doing whatever they wanted. I really do not get how so many people are even shocked. And again, this isn't y'all who are watching, but people on Twitter and my family members who are liberal and people like that, people on Facebook, you know, I see y'all and you are acting like you have no idea where this came from. If you have no idea where this came from, then you need to get your head out of your fucking ass. I'm serious. Like, I'm mad today because this is like...
Let's rock, bro.
I just cannot believe that there are protesters at the Capitol getting away with this. I can't believe it. It's as much as I know that these people are in a special class of people that are treated differently when they do their shit, I still am shocked. They were in the building and they drove them out and now they're still on the steps.
Like listen, when it was like the people started like gunshots went off and people left. Whatever. Listen,
as soon as the fucking flashbangs start at a BLM protest, it is effectively the beginning of the end of that protest, right? Like y'all have been, or like at an anti-war protest, or like any of the protests that any of us have ever been to. As soon as the police start calling for dispersal, which they started calling for about 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
as soon as they start calling for that shit and the flashbangs start going off, the protest is effectively in its final stages. Now, a lot of times protesters have been able to drag out those final stages really long in recent times by using very organized and clever tactics to make it so that the cops can't just drive them out the second that they want to. But these guys aren't doing that. These guys don't have a counter barricade that they're using to hold the cops back. No, they're just chilling. These
guys have never had to learn how to deal with cops because cops are on their side, right? Like, our protesters' strategies were developed as a direct response to police brutality at those protests, right? But these people have never experienced that in much the same way they haven't experienced, like, any of these hardships they're contributing to, which is, you know, it's the same thing continuing to happen. Yes, I agree. Where's Miley?
I thought that was a phenomenal tweet.
That is the tweet. I agree.
That is the tweet of the day right there, folks. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think maybe to a certain extent, part of it is, you know, the protests weren't really televised. Not really. Like, they were to an extent. You know, people were documenting them to an extent. But it wasn't, like, in the same sort of mainstream sense that this is right now.
Rachel, may I give, like, not necessarily a disagreement, but like a corollary? Because my memory of this is aligns with yours, but it's a little more fleshed out, I think. Which is, like, there was coverage of this stuff for, like, a weekend. And I think it got the same kind of coverage over, like, for maybe like 3 or 4 days, especially as those marches went to local areas. And you got to remember, like, this is like one stunt, because when I talk about, like, things being the same size, like, I'm not trying to, you know, I don't want to distract people from the size that there was a super large movement that was in every state that was mobilized this summer. So, like, nobody needs to worry about, like, numbers or willingness or anything like that. But despite the fact that it was like a small group that was holding things up here in DC, it's not exactly the same nationally. Like, you've got stuff happening in Kansas. Trump's made a statement. It's probably going to take us a couple minutes to find it and pull it up and all the other stuff. But
I'll have it on screen in just a minute.
Okay, Trump has done some goofy video where he's out in the Rose Garden and staring. One of those, yeah.
Yep. All right. Here we go.
Oh, okay. This has been. There's no likes. There's no retweets. There's no engagement allowed for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you can retweet.
Okay.
This was just posted a few moments ago. Thank you, Twitter.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country.
Well, I guess that's fair. Not within the country.
Listen, everybody
can play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
All right, listen.
That's a very measured but very fascist statement.
Well, I want to emphasize, and we can emphasize different parts of the statement. For me personally, the headline is "They'll take everything from me."
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's the only part of this that entire speech that he meant. The rest of this is like, "Hey, make sure you see me when I come on tour." And this thing that we're talking about right now is like, look at world history and what happens to people who do this and it doesn't work out for them.
Right.
They tend to have everything taken from them.
Right.
And Kennedy is often mentioned like, hey, someone could see this and sit Trump in the chair and tell him to just sit there while they do whatever else. There are like anything can go any kind of different way. But however, the president got on TV and said, "Go home. They'll take everything from you."
Yes.
Right? Like this does not seem like a dictator ascendant.
Well, they just heard it on the ground. Maybe we can listen in a little bit to the stream.
But I don't think we are going to have the exact same dictators as 100 years ago.
No, you're right.
I think that the way that a politician carried themselves back then was a lot more just brash and boisterous in general. Even for a quote unquote good politician, that there was a lot of like sort of swagger and braggartry and sort of like, look at me, I'm a great man type attitude. And so, yes, the fascists of that era personified that to the most extreme degree that they could, because that was the attitude of the era, to make yourself, look great. But you got to remember, Trump is not appealing to those same people of 100 years ago. The people of today, as Brandon so correctly pointed out, are these are the most cowardly fascists maybe in history. These are very cowardly people.
And look, there's a hand now in any group of like, because I don't want to do the thing where like the people are like an imminent threat and also pathetic. In this group of people that are pathetic, there are people who are an imminent threat.
And cowards are dangerous in groups.
Correct.
I want to be clear about that. Cowards are very dangerous in groups.
Yes.
They're more dangerous in groups than most other types of people, probably, in fact. Shoot, what was I going to say?
Just the big takeaways from Trump's speech. He asked everybody to disperse.
Yes.
And, he's got a special relationship with that movement. Right.
So is Trump going to come out at any point? Even if let's say there was to be a successful coup today and that Trump is installed as indefinite leader of the government, okay? Would Trump even then come out with a strongman statement like the fascists of 100 years ago? Absolutely not. This is a new form of fascism. You got to remember, these Republicans, a big part of their internal strategy is to be dishonest at all times. Never reveal what you truly believe. It's a core tenet of modern fascism. That's what Trump is doing.
Kennedy, when he said they'll take everything from me, do you think that he believes that they'll take everything from him?
When he says that, I think first of all, we could definitely read into it because he did say me, and just think about
understand he doesn't care about his family. He doesn't love his family. He doesn't love his followers. He doesn't love his goons in Congress.
He loves nothing. He's completely anhedonic, actually, and that's part of why he's like this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not qualified to diagnose this person.
No, but
from the outside, it looks like he's a narcissist. When you're talking about people that have narcissistic personality disorder, it is incredibly self-focused, right? It is always about the affront against them. The way the world is unfair to them, the way people have mistreated them. It's completely in line with his character as we know it. My concern is, what I just heard is that's enough for now. In the same way, step back and stand by that's enough for now. I think we should expect this to continue if they do disperse now, which I honestly think they might. Having him tell them to do it, I think could be pretty persuasive. But they definitely will be back. This is not the end of it, even if they leave now, which, I don't know. It looks like they're leaving. Let's check the feed.
Well,
we can't tell yet. They're just getting this information. So it's going to take like 10 minutes before we see whether they, what they want to do.
Yeah. Well,
and
I'm
also
talking about it on
the
feed.
And also, when you have a group, like there are decision makers inside that group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, all of these people could be prosecuted. And Trump did not mention that at all. And this is worth noting because pretty much every time he talked about left-wing protests over the summer, BLM or otherwise, he was very clear about, I will prosecute everyone. You will all go to jail. If you deface anything, you're going to jail. Where's that today? So I agree with Rachel to that extent, because like if Trump was serious about asking these people to disperse, he would remind them that there might be some consequences or something.
Yes.
But no, he's telling them at best to come back later.
Yes, everybody knows the difference between, because we've all given the speeches to each other. Like, I don't approve of this action, but you're fine. And versus stop doing that right the hell now.
Yes.
Right. So, and this was definitely, listen, this is going to probably be like a long, excruciating process. That's just going to have stuff like this happening all the time. And we don't know for sure. But what I will,
go ahead.
We don't know for sure. But when it comes to this particular guy, in this particular moment, I don't think that he feels the institutional support that he would need to stay there. Now, I do think he will be going on a treason tour, and he'll be going to where, like, unless you get him, he's going to just go from town to town and say the election's illegitimate. Didn't want to risk any, that kind of bullshit. He's going to start running for 2024.
I mean,
here's the question, though. How much institutional support does he need if there's no institutional pushback?
Yes, exactly that. Also, I would just remind you that our own state elected a QAnon conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, big weirdo. There isn't really a lot of an opposition in that particular district.
That one painfully attractive conservative dude who's like consummate evil and an overt Nazi that also got elected.
I thought you were gonna first of all
something.
Yeah, Madison Cawthorn. Of all,
Madison Cawthorn, who I hate, but also kind of think he's hot. It's a whole fucked up situation. That guy got elected. Fucking Tom Cotton is passing legislation. We were there. He has institutional support. The police are clearly supporting these people. That is institutional support. Whether they're willing to codify it and do like an actual formal secession from the union, I don't know. Probably not. But that is still institutional support. And when Kennedy was asking, what if there's no pushback? That will also be that support, right? The absence of pushback is a kind of support in situations like these.
Listen, I don't want to, because we could. The problem with some of this stuff is if we're unwilling to put a timeline to our, I grew up in a religious organization. If you don't have a timeline, you can say almost anything and not necessarily be wrong.
Right.
So I don't want we can sit here and talk, and we can all just be thinking out loud. And there are millions of possibilities. All of us are blindsided by things that we can't predict. And all of us have been overwhelmed by things that are maybe more mundane than we anticipated. And how many of us anticipated, Biden being elected? I said it was possible, but it's not like it was any of our number one, choice. No. So, because none of us expected, number one, for Obama to make the Godfather call that soon, and for all of these careerist self-worshippers to listen so quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't expect them to just be like, oh yeah, whatever you say, Mr. President. Because generally, I was expecting, some of those other primary candidates to have a hissy fit in the same way that other people were told, hey, you got to go, and they were like, hey, listen, I still see a path to victory, and they took an extra month to stay in there.
Yeah.
And that could be literally across the political spectrum of primary candidates who stayed on too long,
right?
Because of their own, personal feelings or whatever. But it turned out that there was a little more discipline in the neoliberal part of the movement than maybe the movement that was against them.
Yeah. Well, I think the further we get into the left, the less disciplined we are.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is just because the further we get to the left, the younger we get, the less experience we have. Especially and I say this a lot, we're amateurs, right? We are amateur revolutionaries. We're trying very hard to figure out how to do this without elders to talk to for the most part, because all the gay ones are dead. All of the black elders are dead. All of these people that we might talk to about their, liberatory struggle and the successes they had are
yeah, listen. They've got their own incredibly unique disadvantages as well. Let's look at
let's look at. Go ahead, Kennedy.
I actually wanted to go back to just talking a little bit more about Trump's statement before we move on too much, which is, because I wanted to go back to, especially talking about they'll take everything from me. I think it's really fun to read into it the interpretation that we read into it a few minutes ago of like, it's this very narcissistic thing, which could be relatively true. But I also think when he says they'll take everything from me, he's talking to these people. He's saying they'll take everything from you.
Yeah, that's not.
I want to like just be clear about the way this is going to interpret to the people receiving this statement and receiving it as coded orders. And you got to remember that even if Trump wasn't trying to give coded orders, people are going to read it that way,
right?
Because these people are like that.
Right. So but if we say that this is a coded stand down order, it's not a stand down order.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Right. Even if it's the temporary, like if we're saying go home.
Yes.
I don't even think he wants them to go home. I mean, I don't believe that at all. I think when he says they'll take everything from me, which again, to his most important followers, what he's trying to convey is they'll take everything from you.
Right.
Because that's what these people believe. That's what these people believe is going to happen in the next 4 years.
Yes, absolutely.
Kennedy, I just want to say, just for the pro dragging things out side of things, I can't ask for more from a quote from my argument than Trump going on Twitter and saying they'll take everything from me, please go home. I mean, we can all read into, like, obviously, like, there are multiple interpretations, but if your interpretation is Trump's not about that action and he wants to go and be a podcaster and not really do this, like, I can't script anymore for, even if it's circumstantial, I can't script more for that side of the argument. So it's just like, what do you believe in at that stage?
Counterpoint, being a demagogue is pretty low effort, actually.
It is.
Being president is really hard. Being a demagogue is easy. That's the first thing. The second thing, I just want to remind people again, I keep saying religious minority because it's really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
These people are a lot of evangelical Christians, and that follow daddy attitude they have is baked into the fiber of their being. So when he says they'll take everything from me and they hear you, it's because they consider him a part of them at this point. Like, he is their identity at this point, that they have completely focused around him. And I also wanted to respond to a very good question I saw. Aren't all revolutions run by amateurs, though? Absolutely, yes. They all are. We are 4 years into a project that will take at minimum 12 to 20. So we are still in the amateur stage. We're starting to figure it out. We're getting there, but we are not there yet. We still have a lot to learn before we can really be as effective as our enemies.
I don't think all revolutions are run by amateurs. Che was going around giving people the handbook at one time. We just don't live in that world now.
I will say the world has had many professional revolutionaries and also many professional counter-revolutionaries, obviously.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, like, that's basically what the CIA does.
I mean,
and they're definitely not amateurs. All right, I take it back. We're not all amateurs, but we are. And that's okay. It's okay that we are. It just means that we need to acknowledge ourselves as amateurs with a lot to learn and do that. You know, we just need to be honest with ourselves about the reality of the situation, the facts as they exist, you know, our actual resources, our actual strengths, our actual needs. We need to be really, really uncompromisingly honest with ourselves about this.
Yeah. And I know there are people out there wondering, why can't we on the left do this? What's happening right here? And it's because this is a 50+ year project. Now, it does not mean that we have to take 50 years to replicate it.
No.
But it means that we need to recognize that. A lot of people think that this is a relatively new, thing. But it's just not. And so if we're going to have any kind of the same kind of ability to have a movement like this that is relatively unchecked by power and is allowed to fucking go hard, it's going to take way more work than we've done. That's just the reality.
Yeah, I want to hold up as an example of exactly what you're describing here, the Cato Institute, which was started 1975-ish by the Koch brothers by Charles Koch. And that exists specifically as a think tank for how to start just constantly seeding every level of government with, sympathetic actors, right? So since, give or take, the middle of the 1970s, the Koch brothers and Koch industries at large have spent unimaginable amounts of money on putting their people into law schools, putting their people into judges, putting their people into office. So, they've been doing it, like Kennedy said, for 50 years.
Yeah, I think
we are just getting started. It's going to take some time.
That's a great fucking point. And while I talked about 80s era movement building, I didn't even talk about that. Just the grit, the qualifications grift mill.
Yes.
You guys paid for people to go to law school.
Well, and it's not just that, right? George Mason University is notoriously run by people who are affiliated with the Koch network. And if that's not something you've heard about, it is exactly what I was just describing. The Koch network is this network of politicians, of judges, of professors, of think tank people, of media people, all of whom have been recruited to this specific project of creating perfect market capital.
Yeah, it's too bad that you nerds change channels when we talk about institution building. We talk about why this shit's happening. You guys are like, there's no flashy objects. The numbers start going down. We gotta keep the action on screen.
Mm-hmm.
But to be fair to us, to be fair to them, this is
I got a question.
Crazy event. Lau, what's up?
How many people out there think that this is just going to be some one-time event? Like, this is just a Trump thing. After Trump, everything's going to be all right. We're going to be chill. We're not going to have any more of these.
Right.
I think libs are it is just starting to dawn on them, maybe.
God help us. We know every single time there's a sitting Democratic president, terrorist activity in the United States goes up.
Yeah.
We know this. It is predictable. It is like murders going up in the summer, right?
Yeah.
Think about how bad the violence has been during the Trump presidency and imagine it getting worse. And that's what's going to happen. Because that is how these people respond to losing.
Again, if you think this is a one-off, you're not looking at the chain of events. You're just not. And I know this is especially controversial, and I know some people won't necessarily agree with me here, but this starts with mass shootings and school shootings. There's a chain of events of violence that has led us here.
Do you see that free Alex Jones?
Yeah, and then it's people like Alex Jones. Perfect timing to be talking about school shootings, right? Because it's these conspiracy theorists and grifters who have been optimizing and taking advantage of this tension, who are really directly responsible for what we're seeing here. This sort of undermining of reality, of fact itself that has happened because of people like Alex Jones. It's remarkable.
But you gotta remember that this guy, fucking, you got more, Rachel?
No, I lost it. But
okay, you think about it, and I'll just talk about this guy, Alex Jones. He's got these awful products that are targeted at in order to, I forget who this was. It was some YouTuber that just pointed out, in order to be the kind of person that would buy Alex Jones products, you have to be an incredibly credulous dope. And one of the reasons why Alex Jones talks so much about incredulous dopey stuff is not because he's a madman, although he is. It's because this is good marketing, because once you talk about this kind of dopey stuff for 2 hours, the only people that are left that are even interested in buying your brain pills, your soy pills that are going to help you float and throw fire out of your penis, you're only going to buy that stuff if you are the kind of person who would sit through hours of that nonsense too.
Hey, Brandon.
Yeah.
Shoot fire out your penis. Talk about spit roasting.
You need it. You basically you need a co-customer to do that. That was H Bomber Guy, and I'm glad that I remembered that. You remembered it for us.
I'm seeing some speculation now around Twitter that the DoD was reluctant to send in the DC National Guard because they are under direct control of the president.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Obviously.
It's definitely interesting to see. This is part of what makes me think that this could get a lot more serious. It's very interesting to see these agencies be at odds with themselves and each other.
Yeah, absolutely. This is scary. The fact that they didn't act is scary. That means they are not willing to act against his wishes, which is scary.
Yeah, listen.
I think their concern was that they didn't know what Trump would even do with the National Guard should they be ordered out there, right? Like, because if Trump has the ability to like control them
to leave,
that's true.
So that's why he sent out that message, right?
Well, that's only more scary.
Partly.
It only becomes more scary that way. Like the whole situation is sincerely frightening.
Y'all want to see what a congressional gas mask looks like?
Yeah, does it look fly?
No.
Never mind.
Wait, they have.
I'm imagining. Listen, Trump. No, that's terrible. Trump had a mask. He had a mask with the seal of the president. And like, listen, we all hate Trump, but if you've seen the Trump presidential mask, it's fucking fresh. Like, it's a nice mask. So I'm imagining like a congressional mask that's like a deep blue and it's got some gold trim for the. That's
Mr.
Like,
Free shit.
How's he wearing a? He's like one of the handful of people that doesn't have to wear a mask right now because he's properly immune. This is annoying.
Well, no, they have that. They put the masks on because of tear gas.
Oh no, I was talking about the Trump mask.
Right.
Oh.
But
I know. Listen.
I get they're putting them in
Boxism.
We're just trying to have a moment of joy.
We are a news show, but like we also tell jokes, and also we have things that are serious but not super serious. Listen, the fashion qualities of the mask, I promise, they're not like live or die for me. I'm just trying to bring a little lightness to our.
Actually, we gotta force the masks.
We gotta establish some type of like mask exchange culture. You just make cool designs and stuff, and you pass it to your Uber driver or whatever, and you got something that like has like, I don't know, like communism will win or something.
Yeah, listen, I've got a face mask that says freaking comedy resistance. We need to. I don't know. We'll figure out something. We got to make some nice masks that are.
We need to control the mask game is what we need to do.
Listen, we need to talk to Mama Trap God. You know, Aaron's mom.
We gotta get one step ahead of the game. Everybody already makes COVID masks. We should have done it way before. It's too late. But we could start making not safe for wonks riot gear.
Yeah.
I love that.
To be clear, I'm in favor.
Yeah. We want some shields. We want some gloves.
Can you buy a custom branded riot shield? That's what I need to do.
Listen,
I bet you can buy
is already looking. Saints Row 5 is already looking fucking incredible. It starts. You get your custom masks. Did Supreme put out masks? Hold
on. Let me check Alibaba.
Yeah, there's probably a bootleg Supreme mask.
Boy, howdy!
I got that Supreme Hurt Locker drip.
I don't know who you are, but I like you. My DMs are open, friend. I will talk to you not on the air. You've been very helpful this stream and also very funny.
Vox is actually a friend of mine, so that's
an
even safer ask than you know.
That makes sense to me. This seems like one of our people. Sometimes I can tell because I know who it is that's commenting. Sometimes it's just like a 0% surprise that it's somebody who's already friends with us because we're also like.
Wouldn't it be some shit if like all of these corporations started selling like riot gears to leftists? Like you got your little obey. You guys like, oh, my eyes are like burning from this like whatever tear gas, and it's like I got my obey like baking soda spray.
No, we could do this. Hold on.
Nike riot gear. That's all I'm saying.
Oh fuck yes! So this
Oh
is
God.
this is the new grift. I am committed to this completely. All of the profits we got from the shirts are going to go to buying these.
Custom branded riot shields. Who wants it? I want to see. If I don't see at least one comment saying I want this, I'm gonna be really disappointed. I'm just gonna say that much.
You know.
Oh God.
You know how Fred would look with like 40 leftists with like riot shields, and they form like a phalanx, like Roman, like little turtle thing, you know?
And it's just wonks everywhere.
No, here's the thing. We won't even strongly brand it with our logo because that's tacky. We'll just make these really fly. You'll never see. You'll be like, that riot shield is swag as hell.
Right.
I don't know why I'm having this thought.
We'll find.
I kind of want to join now.
Yeah, we'll make some Versace styled riot gear, like just something in the style of the Italian classics, really ornate. People will like it. I just think for us as a group of people, we should probably like get people their Christmas shirts by Christmas before we start arming community defense.
You made a note, actually. If you happen to be watching, if you happen to order a shirt, those are going to be shipping out next week.
Yeah.
I'm very.
We finally have something good to say on that.
Yeah, we've got this whole shirt thing. It took us like a week too long or whatever. We're all human beings, and we're all doing this for free. And also,
it was our first time doing it, and we had a tattoo with our vendor. So
literally, it was our first time doing it, and our vendor.
The country sold out of size large hunter green sweatshirts. Also, that's worth mentioning. You literally couldn't buy them anywhere; they were sold out everywhere.
Marie, you have the true spirit. You've got.
Marie, can we hire you to be our new merch person?
Oh God. Hey, there's RJ Anime. Y'all saw him during the New Year's Soup. We didn't actually talk or interact during the stream, so people were like, "Hey, who is this weird person?" But RJ Anime, Richard, my cousin, has a nice little Twitch stream where he does animation and also plays video games. If you're into that. How are you doing? Again. Yeah.
But with we should plan it.
Yeah, absolutely. Come do an audio episode. We can talk about like your life and shit. That'd be fun. Also, like RJ Anime has lived a very colorful life and got kind of screwed over by the armed forces, and might have some interesting stuff to talk about.
That'd be cool if you're willing to talk about it.
That naval career. Look. RJ, being in the Navy is like an instant ticket to clout in our world. So you go tell some bad Navy stories. We'll get you on here with one of our friends, Erica, and y'all just shoot the shit for half an hour. It'll probably be funny as hell.
Okay, I have a friend with a vinyl cutter.
Oh God,
we can do this. We can have riot shield vinyl wraps.
That's funny.
This is happening. I will make this happen. Sheer force of will. If I have to do it myself, we are going to be selling just dope ass riot shields.
We'll just buy the blank riot shields and just sell them as a product, and then sell wraps. And then what you choose to do with those two items.
Listen, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do for legal liability. We're gonna sell stickers. These are very large stickers. They don't seem to fit anything else in my house. And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you don't know.
Are you legally allowed to buy riot shields in the United States?
I don't know about
legally allowed to buy a freaking automatic weapon.
Let me just take this for a moment, because this is one of my favorite types of conversations to have with people in America. Like, I was just talking with a friend the other day, and she was talking about getting a firearm, and she was like, do I need a permit even if I'm blank blank blank? And I was like, well, are you concealed carrying it? She's like, no. And I was like, well, then no. And she's like, I don't need any permit. And I was like, no, you don't need any permit. And she's like, really? And I was like, do you understand the country that we live in? Like, no, I get it though. But like everybody, it's funny. I feel like I have this conversation with Americans like all the time. People will constantly think, surely things are restricted that are dangerous. They're not.
Well, the reason I'm wondering whether riot shields would be illegal to sell is because we could use them to defend ourselves, actually. And they do have a tendency to make that illegal. Like, I know they're arresting people for obstruction of justice
Kennedy,
for throwing the tear gas away from other people.
Kennedy, they were, like in our state, they have been passing that kind of legislation.
Yes,
so
they are quite literally doing that.
that seems wild, but it is the case.
We live in a fascist state.
But even still, even when they like try to ban that stuff, they always just like half ban it because they always leave exceptions for their fascist friends. So just use those exceptions, whatever they are. Oh, your shield has to have a certain number of holes in it, or whatever. You know?
That's funny.
You can't call it. This is not a riot. This is my service plexiglass.
This is my emotional support plexiglass, actually.
Yeah.
And
that's what we're gonna. We're not gonna sell riot shields on the.
we're gonna sell emotional support.
We're gonna sell
plexiglass.
emotional support plexiglass.
I love that. I love that for us.
Again, you cannot stop me from actually doing this. I'm doing this.
I'm not kidding. I'm not making jokes. We're gonna sell emotional support plexiglass with dank vinyl wraps available.
We sure are.
I love that. That's dank. Listen, does it feel like at this Trump riot that people are dispersing slowly? Are they going to get? First of all, armies march on their stomachs. Are any of these people hungry? Like it seems like at some time they've got to go to Denny's. Like they got to pack this shit up and go back to Denny's. They're not going to stay there all day. And
let's get a Domino's pizza.
Yeah, seriously.
I just want to quickly take a moment to scroll the page of riot gear that is available on Amazon, purchasable by anyone with no sort of verification or proof of who you are or whatever.
Yeah. Go ahead. You got it?
Yep.
Or are you going to pull it up? All right.
I just had to take down the other one first, and here it is.
Now,
obviously, that's like a kid's toy, but
show me that big white guy that looks like Captain America. First of all, look at this is a big boy. Second of all, how useful is that? Like, I know we're going for portability, but it feels like it's like, what if somebody, what if a child hits you in the dick? Are you going to be perfectly prepared for that or not?
I think the idea is to protect yourself from getting hit with something like a baton.
Sure.
Like, I don't think it's for guns,
No, I didn't say guns, just for you've got a whole body out there to cover.
I want to make
very expensive for something that's just going to cover this.
I want to make one more point about the legality of shit like this, which is that a lot of times the laws that they end up passing are not that you can't own it, but that you can't essentially take it out of your house. Like, I just want to be.
Yeah.
If people are worried about the legal ramifications of this stuff, sort of thing, I just want people to know that's what they're gonna bust you for, is when you actually have it out and you're using it. So at that point, we are not liable.
Right.
This was not the intention of this product. We did not intend for it to be used this way. We don't understand why people are misusing our product this way. And unfortunately, we can't do anything about it because we just sell things and we're not accountable to anyone.
And listen, if you take that out onto the streets after buying it from us, they're going to take everything from us.
Listen, because I don't want us to get bangeranged by one of these content platforms. But it seems like all of what you guys. Oh God!
Starting this spring, we will be selling our very own nsfwonks emotional support shields. This will cost about
at least $70.
I was about to say $70.
$69. Yeah. Let's go round it down.
$69. That seems fair.
Absolutely perfect.
You can pre-order them on our website.
Actually, wait. I've come up with a new purpose for these. No one can be mad at us now. This is for COVID protection.
Ooh,
yes, it is. Keep the COVID germs and their police batons away.
Don't get brutalized
by COVID.
By COVID.
There you go.
Volvox says, I love you. First of all, I love that there is a Denny's nearby. I did figure the Congress people go there. You've got all these 85-year-old goblins that are controlling the halls of power, and they're like, Denny's sounds good. 69. That's right.
Oh,
there you go.
Marie posted shit about LARP shields. We could do that. This is a fantasy prop. A not safe for wonks fantasy prop.
Our sessions of comrades have gotten way better, and we're just way more enthusiastic, and we just love the LARP.
Start your 2021 LARPing bright.
You know, yeah, for everybody who talks shit about LARPers, they're perhaps the people we should be reaching out to right now because they actually know how to make things.
I mean, listen, we can reach out to them, but they'll get on and they'll be like, can you guys please stop bullying us? And they'll be like, no, you've got to take it, but I'll listen to what you've got to say about, holy shit and stuff.
I will never tell you your hobby is cool, but I will tell you that I appreciate the work you're doing and you as a person.
Marie, it's just a fact that there is only one real, true, authentic leftist. And that's you. The rest of us are, grifters, careerists,
memers,
kiddies, memers, clout chasers.
Have you looked at my nice shirt?
Look at how that's like a charcuterie of shirts. It's really incredible.
I feel like a charcuterie of shirts is what you would call just like a large group of rich white people.
They're all wearing pink polo. A group of guys in pink polo is a charcuterie.
Kennedy, what are you trying to say through laughing?
I'm just thinking polos too, right before Brandon said.
You know what's funny? Same. I was thinking about Lacoste.
I love that. Hey, listen, do we have
actually, I'm going to take this one step further and flatter our whole audience. The only real leftists are the people that watch this show.
Ooh.
Not the people that make it even.
No.
But the people that watch. Y'all are the real leftists.
Jokes aside, I really do hope that this podcast can inspire people to actually go out and do socialism. Not just talk about it, do it.
That's all we do. It's our hook.
It works, We're kind of screaming into the void here. Like, if you have been inspired to organize something because of this show, let it be known. I want to hear about it. Send it to me. I want to make a big deal of how excited I am.
Hey, let's make that something that we do on our website. We can have a form or something. We can have a Google form.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, we start asking for that all the time.
Unfortunately, the Congress cafeteria is the only good one. The executive branch cafeterias are shit. Listen, I don't know. I know the president's good, and I know they've got like the executive naval chef or whatever that's out there killing the game and can make anything. But yeah, I don't know what the cafeteria scene is like in that area of DC because, like, obviously, like I got family in DC, but we're not like going to the Capitol to eat.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. The Senate cafeteria never has burger. That's fair. I've never had burger either.
Honestly,
I don't know what burger is.
maybe the Senate cafeteria actually has burger for the first time now that these people are there. Maybe they're the burger.
Senate cafe burger.
Isn't that an astrological sign?
Yes. After it's between, Capricorn and Aquarius, you've got Virgo. It's a cousin of Virgo. After Virgo, there's Virgo.
All right, y'all. Well, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get any more meat off this bone.
There's no news.
It's wrapping up for the most part now. Most of the state capitals have been vacated. It is obvious that the protest here. I hate to even use that word. It's obvious that the
riot.
Tantrum. Sure. It's obvious that the tantrum here is almost over.
It is crested.
And that, they've been forced off the steps. Most of them have dispersed. This is not even like a quarter of the size of the crowd that was here earlier. So yeah.
That is Sushi. That's important. Like, listen, like we don't like to brag about this, but like none of us we've all read that stuff and can all talk about we don't like to be read theory people because those people are annoying. But hopefully we can start giving people, at least plugging people into that. And we do that all the time here.
Yeah, we talk a lot about things that or books that we've read that influenced us or people should read. I do it the most, honestly. I'm the one who shouts about it the most, probably.
Yeah. George Jackson
objectively reading more than I do.
Yeah. George Jackson is a really good place to start with that particular thrust that we're on. So I'll probably think about that. Listen, I won't make any promises in terms of reading or setting up education based on things or setting up, reading groups because it's just been a very busy week for me.
Yeah.
But I want y'all to know when y'all like send stuff, like we put a note, and sometimes we will do something like 3 or 4 months after someone suggests we do it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that has ever been suggested to us as a show has ever gone into like a garbage can.
Yeah.
We're very obsessive about people's feedback and shit like that. So if like 5 of you start saying, "Hey, do George Jackson," we'll probably be more likely to do it. Organize with other fans of the show. Like leave other like if you were to leave a comment saying you guys need to cover so and so, and tell your friends to do it, then you'd be like applying material pressure on us.
Yeah.
To do what you want, and we are trying to get people to do that. Honestly, listen.
Anyway, speaking of people doing what we want,
yeah.
Patreon.com/notsafe.
Right. And I know. I know that you're. Listen, that's hilarious. Before we leave. There is a new episode of the show.
Yes.
Do we have it?
Like, is the new episode of the podcast posted?
Not even is it posted, but do we have it on deck? And you guys take a little while and see if it, because I know it's been composed and it's. So
I
very,
said they posted it
yes.
this morning. So
Yes, our episode has been published for the day.
What is it?
It is called Nancy Pelosi, the Insult Comic Dog. It's a weird episode to come out today in some ways, but I also think there's definitely some relevance to it. We talk about
it's relevant.
The vote. We talk about negotiations between different political groups, including like white women as a political group, and some interesting things. I was gonna see if we needed to just hold it if things got way crazier, but it's obvious now that things are mellowing, and that we can release some normal content.
Listen, hey, so, who wrote? Before we leave, who wrote the new copy for the Twitter bio?
I don't know. Oh, the new copy for the Twitter bio?
Yeah, it says the Southern leftist activist show Twitter thinks it wants but can't handle. Fucking 3-point land, let me tell you. fucking 3-point land. That should go in our fucking body copy. That's actually that's really good. That's a banger.
I wrote that really late at night, like 2 nights ago, because I just every day on Twitter people are like, "Where are the Southern activist, marginalized leftists who make media?"
And we're just like, "We're here."
We speak up, and they're like, "No, not like that."
You.
No, you're too queer. You're too queer, and you're too ADHD, and I don't want to see your show.
All right, folks. Patreon.com/notsafe if you want to support the work. Again, as always, this is 100% independent media. We appreciate everybody tuning out, sticking with us today. We know it was a weird day, and that everybody's feeling a little weird right now.
3-hour episode of of our stream. It's a big stream.
It's a lot for us.
Yeah, we're usually here for like 45 minutes, but we just decided, hey, let's let everybody know what's up. Let's take our time and lead people through this.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking for this spring season, we're going to be selling our riot gear pretty soon.
Before we go, a fan literally made this. A fan literally made this while we were doing this segment, you guys. I love this for us.
Let me see.
On every level.
I'm so ready.
Oh no!
Now that's where it is.
I love it.
Yo, whoever that is has a free month of the show on Patreon on me. Enjoy our back archives.
Shoot any of us.
You're on the meme team now.
Yeah,
shoot any of us
out for your free month of Patreon.
That was fucking
I know
hilarious.
Who you are.
All right,
and you know who I am. So just do it.
I love it.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. We're gonna get out of here. If things get way crazy, we will come back. I want to promise y'all that.
If a world event, like a major world event happens, we'll be back.
If things get
really hot
out there, we will come back. We will cover again, but I don't think it's going to happen today.
Yeah.
So let's all go chill.
Let's get out of here.
Birthday. I'm out of here.
Yeah. This is your birthday. Listen, for your birthday.
Happy birthday.
Wait, Rachel, stop. Rachel, wait. For